Alrighty, welcome back everybody to our latest live stream covering Hurricane Helene as it begins to intensify in the Gulf of Mexico. We are currently looking at a Category 2 hurricane this morning, maximum sustained winds as of now at 100 miles per hour. It is expected to continue to intensify over the next few hours. We are going to get a National Hurricane Center update in literally 20 minutes with the latest track and as well as the intensity of this hurricane, and also what it is expected to make landfall as. So a couple of big key notes there, and we're going to get to that all in just a moment. I do want to mention before we get too far into the stream, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We're going to have live coverage pretty much all day today. There will probably be a small intermission at some point later this afternoon, so I can take a quick hour break to eat, and then we'll be back for actual landfall coverage later this afternoon. But we'll be live here for at least a few hours this morning into the afternoon with the latest details and also what's happening and also what we're already seeing out there, because we are already starting to see some impacts even though we're just at the beginning of this pretty large hurricane here in the Gulf of Mexico. Also, today's stream is brought to you by Radar Omega. If you need a weather app to stay ahead of Hurricane Helene, you can download Radar Omega with the top link in the description below on iOS and Android. We'll be talking more about it throughout the stream today. Before we get into any sort of forecast stuff, I do want to hop into the tornado warnings because we actually have 4 tornado warnings right now. We're going to go north to south. To begin with, we have one south of Columbia, South Carolina, back over just to the southwest of Orangeburg. Rotation has been intensifying on this over the last several minutes as it continues to move northbound. It's going to be approaching Route 301 near Cope and Cordova. So if you're anywhere in this pink polygon, make sure that you are seeking shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible, and in an interior room of your home or building, as this could have a possibility to produce a tornado as that moves off to the north. And then further down to the south, we do have a tornado warning near Brunswick, Georgia. This one right now is going to be expiring in 5 minutes. Not seeing really a whole lot of rotation, but if you're near Route 25, definitely make sure to stay in your safe place. We have a little bit more rotation as well northwest of Darien, and as that moves north, we could see a tornado warning for those near Townsend and Credit Hill in Georgia. So just be weather aware if you're in those areas. We also have a tornado warning in Florida. This is going to be just south of Daytona Beach near Oak Hill and Scottsmore. So if you're in this tornado warning, also make sure that you're in your safe place, as this will continue to move north-northwest, basically going right up Interstate 95. The rotation that we're looking at mainly here just to the southwest of Oak Hill, and we also have a little bit of circulation just south of Samsula Spruce Creek. So that is going to have a capability of producing a tornado as it continues to move off to the north. We also have a little bit of circulation, it looks like, just northwest and north of Orlando. So we'll have to watch this area closely. We're in a little bit of a radar hole, but there is at least a little bit of circulation, it looks like, even though that's not really an organized area of storm activity. More than likely, we're going to see more tornado warnings off of this band as this moves closer to the east coast of Florida as we go throughout the late morning into the early afternoon. So we'll have to watch that as that continues to move to the north. We do have a tornado watch across most of central and southern Florida that goes all the way until 8 o'clock tonight. That is for the potential for several tornadoes, which are likely according to the National Weather Service. So that's what we're looking at in terms of the tornado threat right now. Back over in the Big Bend of Florida, again, it's not looking too shabby right now, but obviously in less than 12 hours, more than likely less than 8 hours away, we're going to see a lot more storm surge here, and it's going to really look completely different. We are already starting to see, it looks like, the water rising, at least at high tide, or maybe it's actually starting to rise because of Hurricane Helene, but it is definitely a little bit higher than what we saw yesterday at Horseshoe Beach. Also, the camera over in Jenna starting to notice that same sort of rise, getting pretty close to the rock wall. But again, we are still very early into this hurricane, so this is expected to be much higher by later this afternoon into the evening. It could very easily be 20 feet higher above what we're seeing right now, which means this camera might not be here later today. So again, we're going to be seeing a lot of crazy stuff. And again, all these cameras that you're looking at here are on the Radar Omega app. If you are a subscriber in the app, you'll be able to access these Project Mesovorts. And so we have several of them on the coastline. I think we have 7 total. Here's another view back over near Apalachicola. Again, right now, not too crazy, but it's going to look way different later today. Carabel, this is a view from Carabel. This is one of the cameras I did not show you yesterday. But again, notice the water. Pretty typical right now, moving in pretty quickly. I think it's pretty close to high tide up here in the Big Bend. And then also back over to the other camera here, which again, this is just going to look way different later today. Like, trust me, it's going to, and there goes some birds. But it's going to look really different later today. It's going to be one of the more historic hurricanes that we've covered, I think, in quite a long time here. So it's going to be something to watch for here in Florida. All right, let's get into Hurricane Helene, more into the details and also the forecast as we kind of, build up the stream here, kind of get into the actual forecast part of it, because we do have tornado warnings, but again, we'll keep a close eye on them if anything does become concerning. This is what Hurricane Helene looks like this morning. Again, we have a lot of convection on the northern side. Eye has been kind of peeking out a little bit. It's still not really organized, though. It's more organized, I would say, than yesterday for sure, but it has continued to struggle to rapidly intensify. As of now, currently the pressure is down to around 960 millibars, so it's continuing to move north. It has intensified overnight, just not really at a not at least at a rapid pace that we were kind of forecasted to see. Nonetheless, we are still expecting this to continue intensifying as it moves towards the Big Bend of Florida today. And another thing that we'll have to watch for is the potential for this to maybe go slightly further east than currently forecasted. It has been wobbling a little bit more to the east over time, so we'll have to wait and see how that plays out, if it continues to wobble more east or if it actually just wobbles back to the west and kind of centers itself back out. We'll have to watch that potential, because right now the eye is essentially going up the right side of the cone of uncertainty. So there's a possibility that we do see a landfall perhaps closer to areas like Perry, Florida, and that could bring some more significant impacts to areas like Gainesville and Jacksonville, at least when it comes to wind speeds. Now, this is the current National Hurricane Center forecast. Keep in mind that this forecast is going to change in like 15 minutes. So the new update comes out in 15 minutes. We'll see what it looks like. But for now, it is currently forecasted to become a Category 3 hurricane as we go later into this afternoon, probably around 2 o'clock. Maximum sustained winds by then at 115 miles per hour, wind gusts at 140. And again, notice how far west that is of Tampa. And then it's not going to make landfall until almost 10 or 11 o'clock tonight in the Big Bend of Florida. It is still expected to make landfall at least as a Category 3 hurricane, but it could make landfall still as a Category 4, depending on how quickly it's able to intensify today. This is another close view of the infrared imagery. Again, notice a lot of convection on the northern side. It's still trying to organize. Looks like that eye wall is really just trying to organize more. The north side is really the most intense part right now of this hurricane as it continues to barrel off to the north and north-northeast. This is, again, the latest track and cone of uncertainty from the National Hurricane Center. They have not gone ahead yet and issued any tropical storm warnings in Tennessee, but I still wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Otherwise, we still have tropical storm warnings anywhere in the blue. That includes Alabama, Florida, North Carolina, the entire state of South Carolina, by the way, and as well as much of Georgia. And then we also have hurricane warnings still in effect back over in southwestern Georgia, and also parts of the Big Bend of Florida are included currently in hurricane warnings, where hurricane force wind gusts, storm surge, basically every threat is going to be possible in those areas. Now, this is the latest HAFSA model run. This is a hurricane model, again, specifically built for hurricanes. And honestly, I think this does a pretty good job handling the intensity up until landfall. I feel like it has here for the last, at least, few days in terms of intensity closer to landfall. Right now, it does indicate it's going to continue to gradually intensify as it approaches the Florida coastline. But notice how it makes landfall is about a 500 or 956 millibar hurricane. So it doesn't really have it rapidly intensifying up to the coastline. With that said, it is still indicating that we're going to have a Category 3 hurricane upon landfall in the state of Florida. If we go to a different computer model run, like the HAFSB, has it a little bit more intense at 952 millibars, still a Cat 3 hurricane as it goes into the Big Bend of Florida. The HWRF model has it much more intense at more like a Cat 4 hurricane. Still can't be ruled out, but I think it's going to be a little bit more of a long shot right now if this is going to really get to a Cat 4 level. And then the HMON model also has this a bit more intense at about 941 millibars upon landfall later this evening. So as of right now, a lot of computer models kind of all over the place still, but a lot of them are in a general consensus that this will be making landfall as at least a Category 3 hurricane, perhaps even a low-end Category 4 hurricane. Computer models continue to stay very consistent. They have shifted again to the east a little bit this morning. There was more of a consensus over like Panama City and Apalachicola. It has shifted probably about 30 miles to the east back over into Apalachicola. But I still wouldn't rule out a landfall further out here to the east. I think that it is a possibility that landfall could even happen as far east as like somewhere like, I wouldn't say Horseshoe Beach, but maybe like Perry, Florida. I think it's definitely still in play. All right, we're going to go to the future radar once we talk about tornadoes. Let's go ahead and jump into the wind potential out of Helene. Give it a second to load up here. So this is going to be the wind gusts in terms of what we're expecting in terms of wind across Florida. I'm just trying to center it so it looks good. So there we go. All right, so in terms of wind gusts today, again, it's already windy in Florida. I mean, you know, it's going to be windy pretty much all day, but it's going to, you know, obviously pick up as we go throughout the afternoon hours. This is what it looks like by lunchtime. Wind gusts near 40 to 50 miles per hour on the west coast of Florida. Those will ramp up closer to 60 to 70 miles per hour by the mid to late afternoon and into the early evening. Areas like Daytona Beach, Palm Bay, Port St. Lucie going to be upwards of 40 to 55 mile per hour winds. I definitely could see there being some isolated to scattered power outages even on the east coast of Florida. By 9 to 10 o'clock, the winds are really ramping up back over in the Big Bend, so right around and just after sunset, we're going to be talking about hurricane force wind gusts across much of the Big Bend, basically anywhere from just north of Tampa all the way back through Tallahassee. And then eventually by 11 to 12 o'clock, the worst of the winds will be wherever this eye makes landfall on the north and east side. So right now, Tallahassee currently looking at 65, 70 mile per hour wind gusts, but if this does make landfall even a little bit further west, you're going to probably be over 100 mile per hour wind gusts. So that's why you need to make sure that you're still prepared for a major hurricane type impact zone up there in Tallahassee. Gainesville and Jacksonville also going to see some pretty significant wind gusts, 60 to 75 miles per hour. Panama City currently looking at tropical storm force wind gusts today. And then as we go overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, things start to calm down in terms of wind. Georgia and South Carolina still going to be dealing with some pretty big impacts out of this. We are still talking about the main concern being wind and flooding. Wind is expected to really be one of the greatest concerns. Notice we have the potential for upwards of 80 to 90 mile per hour wind gusts in southern Georgia, just to the east of Albany and southeast of Macon by 2 in the morning. And then as we go later into the overnight hours, the winds are going to continue to stay strong as this moves towards Augusta, Athens, and Statesboro. What I do recommend if you are in Georgia or South Carolina tonight is if you can, if you have like if you're in a 2-story building, I'd recommend maybe sleeping on the first floor tonight or at least somewhere on the lowest floor because there could be some falling trees. And if you live near some tall trees and one of them falls onto your house, that's not going to be a good thing. So I definitely recommend maybe doing that tonight, at least as a precaution, because we are going to be talking about, again, the potential for some pretty significant wind overnight tonight in Georgia. Not something you see very often. Again, 80 mile per hour wind gusts up and down the state of Georgia. And that will go all the way up towards Greenville, South Carolina by early tomorrow morning. And then even near Athens, we're going to be dealing with that. Even Atlanta will have the potential for some high wind gusts, and even back over in southeastern Alabama. And then eventually by Friday afternoon, things are a little bit more calm. And then back over in the Ohio Valley, we're going to be dealing with some wind gusts up here as well. But again, this is not going to be anything too crazy, but wind gusts in a widespread area between 30 to 50 miles per hour is likely during Friday afternoon, which basically what I'm saying is that this is not something that's out of the ordinary. It's mostly just because this hurricane is going to be so stretched out as it moves inland that the winds are just going to be stretched out anywhere from Arkansas back through Ohio. But this is definitely going to be a bit more significant, I think, for Kentucky and maybe southern Indiana. We could actually have some wind gusts near 60 miles per hour, but elsewhere it should be a little bit more normal, almost like a cold frontal passage. All right, in terms of power outages, again, this is an old map, but it still, I think, is pretty relevant. Again, it's a hurricane. The key, I'm going to tell you again, this is not the key, but basically dark red is where we're expecting numerous to potentially even, or at least scattered to numerous power outages. The purple area is where we're expecting the potential for widespread power outages today. Still very relevant, though, even though this forecast was made 2 days ago. I still think that this part of Florida, anywhere from Tallahassee back through Tampa and near Sarasota, and even maybe near Cape Coral, will be dealing with some more numerous to widespread power outages. And then back through areas like Atlanta, Macon, Savannah, and also even just off to the north of Miami along the Treasure and Space Coast, some scattered power outages will be a possibility, and then isolated power outages in the dark red, which goes up into Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, and much of South Carolina.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
All right, real quickly before we go into the other impacts, we're just going to jump to this tornado warning. This is going to be back over west of Tallahassee. This is currently south of Bluntstown, and we do have actually a nice little couplet there. This could drop a tornado, so if you're anywhere in this warning just south of Bluntstown in Florida, seek shelter immediately, away from windows, lowest floor possible, and interior room of your home or building that is currently moving to the north-northwest. So that's a brand new tornado warning there, moving towards Bluntstown in Florida, just south of Interstate 10. And we still have a tornado warning again just south of Daytona Beach. Let's check in on that real quick. It looks like the rotation is starting to die out on the area of rotation that we had near Oak Hill. We might still have a little bit of rotation back over just south of Daytona. It's hard to tell because we're in between a radar hole, but we might have a little bit of circulation there. I don't think it's enough yet for a tornado warning, but stay vigilant. And if you're back up near Daytona, might get a tornado warning there soon. All right, the next impact that we're going to talk about is going to be the storm surge threat. And storm surge is going to be very significant. Again, this is going to be the most pretty much historic part, I think, of this hurricane will be the storm surge, as the current forecast from the National Hurricane Center is hinting at the potential for a peak storm surge of as high as 20 feet back over in the Big Bend of Florida. That's near Carabel, back through the Suwannee River. We could see storm surge again as high as 20 feet, which is literally crazy. Again, for comparison, Ian had a peak storm surge forecast of 18 feet. Peak storm surge peak storm surge with Dahlia also for forecasted, what I think was also 18 feet. So again, 20 feet is really high, and we've never had a forecast this high before, at least from what I've seen. But again, really significant storm surge expected there in the Big Bend of Florida as we go later into the day today. We'll still be talking about 10 to 15 feet of storm surge just off to the north of Anclote River, and then also back near Tampa Bay, 5 to 8 feet of storm surge is currently in the forecast. And we are already starting to see storm surge, bottom right of your screen, in Cape Coral. So Cape Coral is already starting to see some storm surge, and we're expecting up to 5 feet of storm surge there today. And by the way, that camera is on a pier, so that pier is already starting to be flooded over, and it's probably just going to get worse throughout the day today. Back through Flamingo, Florida, 3 to 5 feet of storm surge expected down that direction. And then also back over near Panama City, since the wind will be coming from inland, we are not expecting as much storm surge up there, but maybe a few feet depending on where you are. And then back over on the east coast of Florida, from the Flagler-Volusia County line back through South Sante River, 1 to 3 feet of storm surge will be a possibility throughout the daytime and also evening hours tonight. For comparison, if you have 20 feet of storm surge, it would be pretty much above a standard 2-story home right along the coastline. So again, if you are, anywhere near the coastline and you are still hesitant on evacuating and you're like over in that Big Bend area or anywhere where there's a significant risk for storm surge, I would definitely recommend getting out of there. I mean, at this point, it's almost too late, but you got a little bit of time before this makes landfall. Again, landfall is still about 10 hours away, so we still got plenty of time. With that said, up to 12 feet of storm surge or even over that is going to be possible in Florida today. Obviously, that is very significant. So please make sure that you're taking all the precautions and evacuating if you're under any sort of evacuation order. This is the latest in terms of rainfall accumulation. We are expecting significant rainfall today and tomorrow back over in northeast Atlanta, back into upstate South Carolina, and also into North Carolina. This is where there's a lot of mountains, and that's why we're going to see the potential also for, significant flooding in this area. Low-lying areas are going to be at risk for significant flooding. We could see upwards of 20 inches of rain in some isolated locations, but widespread 10 to 15 inches of rain is expected there. And then back over near Tallahassee, we're still expecting in the ballpark of 5 to 10 inches of rain. Isolated locations could see a little bit more rain than that. And then in terms of the latest forecast from the Weather Prediction Center, in terms of the greatest flash flood risk over the next few days, main concerns in terms of where we're going to see the worst of the rain will be back over in southwest Georgia, very far southeastern Alabama, and also near Tallahassee.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
Keep on getting tornado warnings. That's Franklin County, Florida. We'll go to that in a second. But as I was saying, this is where we're going to have the potential for maybe some, catastrophic flooding at times. So if you're in this part of anywhere in like southwest Georgia, Florida, or southeast Alabama, and you're in a low-lying area, it might be a better play to maybe go somewhere else for the next 48 hours. If not, if you're just in the area, make sure you turn around, don't drown on the roadways. If you see water and you cannot see underneath where the water is, then just don't go through it. It's not recommended by any means. It is very dangerous. Back over in northeast Georgia, upstate South Carolina, and North Carolina, there's also a high risk.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
There's also a high risk for excessive rainfall up there. Again, high risks are the highest risk you can get. It's pretty rare, so if you're in those areas, definitely be prepared. Moderate risk for excessive rainfall for North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, and also in eastern Alabama, which is another area that we could see some pretty significant flash flooding. All right, well, the tornado risk for today is obviously high. It's one of the higher risks that you'll get for a hurricane. This is a 10% tornado risk for those in South Carolina, Georgia, and northeast Florida. 5% tornado risk from North Carolina back through central and southwestern Florida. Tomorrow is a 5%, and we're going to talk more about the tornado risk, I think, later in this live stream, and we'll be kind of talking about it throughout the day today, because I think today is obviously going to be significant. We have 5 tornado warnings, and then I think tomorrow will also still be pretty active. All right, we do have tornado warnings. So we have one right now near Carabel, Florida. This is actually just south of one of the Radar Omega cameras. I'm not sure where this camera is looking, but if it's looking towards the storm, we might actually see something. I don't know what direction it's looking, though. Anybody know what direction this is looking? Is this looking south? I don't know if anybody's good with directions here. I think that's looking south. If this is looking south, and I think it is. I could be wrong, but if this is looking south right now, no, it would not. No, it's not looking south. It's looking north. All right, never mind. It's looking north. I was about to say we might be able to see something if there was, if this camera was looking south. But we do have a tornado warning again. That's for Franklin County, Florida. We do have a new tornado warning as well, south of Columbia, South Carolina. That is currently just to the west of Cordova, going towards Great Branch, Gravel Hill, Bullentown, Wolfton, as well as Staley Crossroads, and eventually going towards Sandy Run near Interstate 26. So if you are in this tornado warning, seek shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible, and in an interior room of your home or building. All right, we have a new update from the National Hurricane Center. We're going to go ahead and get into that. So just give me one momento. Let me put on the infrared imagery. We'll talk about this new update. This is going to be this is the bigger update. So the 11 a.m. update is pretty large, usually, in terms of stuff. So as of now, Hurricane Helene has intensified to 105-mile-per-hour sustained winds. It is now a higher-end Category 2 hurricane on the latest update. That's a 5-mile-per-hour increase from the last update. The discussion we'll talk about here in a second. Or actually, we'll just go ahead and talk about it now. Helene is gaining strength as it approaches... Fun fact, that was my alarm to wake up today. Okay. All right, let's go back into the update. Helene is gaining strength as it approaches the Florida Big Bend. A large eye has become apparent on satellite images, and that feature has been gradually clearing out over the last few hours, which, again, that's right about here right now. Convective banding is wrapping around the eye, and recent microwave images reports from the NOAA and Air Force Hurricane Hunter aircraft indicate that the eye wall is almost completely closed. The minimum pressure has been dropping steadily to 960 millibars, and based off of the aircraft flight level wind data, the initial intensity is estimated to have increased to 90 knots. There have been several reports to tropical storm force winds occurring in portions of southern Florida and the Florida Keys during the past few hours. The large hurricane is picking up speed and has turned slightly to the north-northeast, which is what we've been seeing, by the way. The eye is a bit more to the east here on this cone, and they've actually adjusted now the path, it looks like, at least the middle path. The cone of uncertainty is actually going to shift a bit here to the east. So we're going to see that in real time here in a second. But, yeah, again, the eye has been a little bit more east of the current cone, so it might actually make landfall more up near Perry, but they still have the at least cone of uncertainty making landfall kind of up here in just to the northeast of Apalachicola. You'll see the update in a second. It's not fully updated yet. All right, so again, the large hurricane picking up speed, turning slightly to the north-northeast. The motion right now is about 12 knots to the north-northeast. A notably faster north-northeastward motion is expected through landfall, which is expected to occur in the Big Bend region this evening. After Hurricane Helene moves inland, it is forecasted to track over Georgia and then slow down or stall over the Tennessee Valley, where it is expected to merge with a mid to upper level low pressure system. Only minor changes to the forecast were made in this update. Significant intensification is expected until Helene reaches the coast, since the overall atmospheric and oceanic conditions will remain conductive. The amount of strengthening will likely depend on how much the inner core can contract and consolidate. The HWRF model and HOM models still show a Category 4 hurricane, while other models are still a bit slower. So again, we could see a Cat 3 on landfall. We also could see a Category 4 hurricane upon landfall. Either one is still very likely at this point. The main message is that Hurricane Helene will likely make landfall as a large, major hurricane in the Florida Big Bend this evening, and all preparations in the hurricane warning area should be rushed to completion. So if you're still in the hurricane warning and you've not done anything, you should be doing something, whether that is having flashlights ready to go, whether you're near the coastline and need to evacuate. That should be done now. You know, you can't be waiting. We're literally like 8 hours, 9 hours maybe away from landfall, 10 hours, kind of in that ballpark. And again, this is going to be making landfall as a historic, major, and very large hurricane in Florida. I can't stress that enough. This is, I mean, I get it. It's not like, you know, it looks like a Cat 4 right now, but it's expected to at least get close to a Cat 4 later this afternoon. It should also be re-emphasized that Helene is a very large hurricane. In fact, comparing the system with previous hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico over the past couple of decades, Helene is at the upper bound in terms of size. As a result, storm surge, wind, rainfall impacts will extend far away from the center and well outside the forecast cone, particularly on the east side. In addition, the fast forward speed when Helene moves inland will result in a far inland penetration of strong winds over parts of the southeastern United States, including strong wind gusts over higher terrain and on the southern Appalachians. Accordingly, a higher than normal gust factor is indicated in the official outlook from the National Hurricane Center. All right, so into the actual update and all the other stuff here. Let's go and pull up the new cone. This is the previous cone. We'll pull up the new cone in a second. So again, this is all as of the 11 a.m. advisory. That's what we're talking about right now if you're just tuning in. So they've put out some updates from the National Hurricane Center. All right, this cone's gonna be a little bit different because the experimental graphic hasn't come out yet. Essentially, the biggest change at this point is that the cone of uncertainty is slightly further to the east, meaning that right now it's still moving north-northeast, so it's a little bit further east. Also, notice how large tropical storm force wind field is currently. It is massive. It literally is huge. It's essentially the size of Florida. So it's a huge wind field right now heading towards the state of Florida. After that, we are expecting this to move inland again as a major hurricane. It's making landfall more than likely as a high-end Cat 3, maybe even a low-end Cat 4. And then eventually a tropical storm will continue to move towards northwestern Georgia by tomorrow morning, and it'll start to spin out as a tropical depression back up in Tennessee and Kentucky. The biggest change to this forecast in terms of intensity forecasted is that as of now they've gone ahead and upped the wind speeds at least closer to landfall up to 120 miles per hour in terms of just before making landfall in Florida. I could still see this being near 125 miles per hour just to the south of Tallahassee as it eventually makes landfall in Florida. So just keep that in mind if you're back up in those areas. But as of right now, again, this is a high-end Category 2 hurricane, maximum sustained winds at 105 miles per hour, and wind gusts currently at 125 miles per hour, and this is expected to continue to intensify potentially rapidly at some point as this moves towards the state of Florida. Again, possibility for high-end Cat 3 or low-end Cat 4 is still what we're thinking right now in terms of the forecast as this makes landfall in Florida this evening. Code of uncertainty right now for landfall includes Carabel, Florida, back towards Perry, Florida. So that's where we think the landfall is going to be this evening in terms of location. Now, if it makes landfall further east on this cone, again, more impacts will be felt further east. If it makes landfall further west, we'll definitely feel more impacts near Apalachicola and even near Panama City. Hurricane warning still in effect just north of Tampa, all the way back through central and southern Georgia, which again, these hurricane warnings go really far to the north. Don't see that very often. And then Tallahassee also under hurricane warnings. So that's the latest. Again, you can see it's really starting to rapidly, I think it's getting pretty close though to potentially rapidly intensifying here soon. We are seeing some really deep convection on the northern side of the eye right now. But yeah, I mean, if this deep convection right here can wrap around the core, we could see some really rapid intensification up to landfall. So this is definitely a pretty interesting development that we're seeing. I mean, this is kind of what we thought would happen like overnight last night, but it was very delayed because of the dry air that we had in the hurricane, and now it's starting to really ramp up now, and we're definitely seeing a lot more deep convection. If that can wrap around the entire eye, we could see a pretty nasty looking hurricane here in a few hours. So we'll definitely have to watch that as it continues to move to the north-northeast. But it's going to make a pretty close, I mean, it won't be super close, but it'll make a pretty close appearance almost to Tampa. It's only going to be about 120 miles to the west of Tampa. So hurricane-force wind gusts, I would not rule out back over in the Tampa Bay area or even near Sarasota. So definitely have to watch that closely. But again, as a reminder, preparations need to be made now. Like, you have to make your preparations now. By the way, there was a water spout that was reported just offshore here near Carabel. I don't think we have a water spout anymore, but there was a water spout near Apalachicola. I am retweeting the photo on Twitter at MaxVelocityWX if you want to check it out. There is still a tornado warning here for Franklin County, Florida. And then we also have our tornado warning that just got canceled back over further north. And then we still have a tornado warning south of Columbia, South Carolina. That rotation has been weakening, so not nearly as concerned about that for right now. Also, we have a tornado watch now in effect for much of southeastern Georgia. We're going to pull up the new tornado watch. So this is your new tornado watch. That currently does include much of northern Florida and also southern Georgia. And that is going to be until 10 p.m. tonight. Several tornadoes are likely. Apparently isolated hail up to ½ inch is possible. I don't know if we'll really see hail, but that'd be kind of crazy. Isolated gusts up to 70 miles per hour will also be possible. So that's the watch there. We also have a tornado watch, obviously, for southern and central Florida. Same parameters. Several tornadoes are likely, but that watch goes until 8 p.m. right now. So that's the latest. Again, on the latest update, we're going to be here answering questions. We'll be having live coverage again pretty much all day today. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. We're going to have several live storm chasers in the field later today. Obviously, we don't have any right now. I don't think there's any storm chasers even live yet. There might be a couple, but we don't have any storm chasers quite yet. We'll have, again, we're going to have over half a dozen storm chasers later this afternoon and tons of live cameras. We have the Radar Omega mesovorts that are right near the coastline. These are the cameras that are going to be able to pick up that storm surge and the intensity as this gets closer to landfall. If you want to watch these cameras, you can inside of the Radar Omega app with the top link in the description below on iOS and Android. Just need to be a subscriber inside the app and you'll be able to access these cameras. We'll also have to watch for water spouts. We have a camera right here in St. George Island, or St. George, Florida, just to the south of Apalachicola. We could end up seeing a couple of water spouts on these cameras today. So definitely have to watch that closely. I'm not sure what this guy's doing on the beach right now. The forecasted storm surge where we're at right now is up to 20 feet. So I'm not sure what this guy is currently planning to do here, but he's here. He's here in motion. I don't know why he's here, but maybe there's a reason. I don't know. Okay. Let me get to chat. We've been talking a lot about the forecast. Let's get into the questions and all that sort of stuff. Thank you to anybody that became a member. We have a lot of new members. Thank you, BF, Carl, Cole, Matthew, Mary, Stacy, Fighting, Matthew, and Average for all becoming members. Thank you, Wick, for the $20 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for Wick. Appreciate the generosity. Thank you, Jared, for the super chat. North side of Atlanta impacts. Mostly going to be wind gusts, potentially some localized flooding. I would expect the wind gusts to be the main concern up there. So wind gusts somewhere between 50 to 65 miles per hour tomorrow morning. But it will start overnight tonight. We'll really pick up, though, tomorrow morning. Thank you, Ryan, for the super chat. Is it Orange County, Florida... Or is Orange County, Florida going to take a direct hit? No. The current landfall position that we're expecting is going to be back up here just south of Tallahassee. And so the worst of the impacts will be there. We are still going to see tropical storm force wind gusts and maybe even a few tornadoes in central Florida. But the odds of you seeing like hurricane force winds are very low. Pretty much zero, but very, very low. Thank you, Jody, for the $10 super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you, Licia, for the super chat. What are the winds expected to be for Polk County? Let me find where that is. Polk County, Florida.
This is an urgent alert. A tornado is on the ground. Seek shelter immediately.
Do have a confirmed tornado now on that storm just south of Columbia, South Carolina. So this just went observed. So if you are in this tornado warning, seek shelter. Away from windows, lowest floor possible. Interior room of your home or building. That is just to the west of St. Matthews. Moving northbound, it is a confirmed tornado, and that is confirmed by emergency management. That is currently moving off to the north-northwest. It is just west of Interstate 26. Hopefully, this is just a small tornado and a brief tornado, but this has been confirmed. Just off to the west-northwest of Orangeburg. I highly doubt this is anything large. I mean, again... Take it as if it was a large tornado, but I mean, in this environment, and especially with the rotation or velocities that we're seeing on radar, very unlikely. This is not an environment that, you know, large and strong tornadoes usually happen in. It is possible today that we see a strong tornado, and I think we will probably at least see 1 or 2 strong tornadoes, but the odds of it are still relatively low. We actually had some tornadoes back over in Forest Beach this morning. Had a couple different tornado reports there. Some minor debris on Gameland Road over in Bluffton, South Carolina.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
All right, we have another tornado warning as well for Georgia. That's going to be for Long, Liberty, and McIntosh counties in Georgia. It should pop up on the map here in a second. It might be over here. That's probably this. See it pop up in a second. There it is, yeah. All right, so the tornado warning that just got issued southeast of Hinesville, east of Watherville. That is, again, the rotation that we're looking at, moving northbound towards Midway and McIntosh. If you're in the pink polygon, again, seek shelter, away from windows, lowest floor possible, and interior room of your home or building. And that is currently moving to the north. We are looking at a radar site that's a bit further away. If we go to this one, yeah, that's a little bit better of a view. It's a little bit off the ground, but that rotation definitely tight enough for there to be a tornado. So if you're in Macintosh or Midway, definitely make sure that you are getting to your safe place. We definitely have a pretty solid chance of getting a tornado out of a storm like this. This environment, again, in Georgia and southern South Carolina, pretty favorable at this point for a few tornadoes today. So definitely expecting that. There's that water spout report, by the way, as of 20 minutes ago near Royal Bluff. Storm chaser observed a water spout near Carabel. The photo of that is on Twitter at MaxVelocityWX. Again, if you're just tuning in, we do have a tornado on the ground west of Orangeburg, back over in South Carolina, moving northbound. This was confirmed by emergency management. It may or may not still be on the ground, but treat it as if it is on the ground to get to that storm shelter, basement, closet, or bathroom, whatever it might be, there just northwest of Orangeburg. That is for Orangeburg and Calhoun counties in South Carolina. All right, let's get back to chat here. Till another update comes in on those warnings. I never found Polk County, did I? All right, let me find Polk County again. Doesn't even pop up? All right, never mind. I gotta find the map. Let's go back to the evacuation map from yesterday. Polk County probably going to be dealing with wind gusts around like 60 to 65 miles per hour later this afternoon. Thank you, Grim, for the $20 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for Grim. Appreciate the generosity. I appreciate that. Thank you, Lois, also for the super chat. Thank you, Jenna, for the super chat. Palm Harbor, Florida. More than anything, it's going to be a storm surge concern. So if you're near the coastline, definitely a good idea to maybe stay away from it today. I mean, at least, maybe go inland if you live near the coastline. Aside from that, I mean, the biggest concern will be tropical storm force winds and maybe even some hurricane force wind gusts. So back over there, just northwest of Tampa, that'll be the main concerns. Thank you, Kate, for becoming a member. Thank you, Allie and Kirsten, also for the super chats. Appreciate that. Thank you, Wanda, also for the super chat. Thank you, Froggy, for the super chat. Thank you also, Landon, for the super chat. Thank you, James, for the super chat. Thank you, Deputy. Thank you, Michelle. Again, I highly recommend you go back to the beginning of this live stream for the latest details. I can't answer every single city. If I answer every single city or town, I would be here all day. So I recommend going back to the first, 30 minutes of the stream. We talked all about the impacts and stuff. And you could probably find yourself on the map. And
a new tornado warning has been issued.
I'll give you a pretty good idea of what to expect. I'll try to answer some questions. Again, I can't guarantee everyone, though. There's going to be so many questions in everybody's city. I get it, but it's hard to answer all of them. Especially with how active it's going to be today with tornadoes. It's going to be hard to balance questions and looking at radar. So, will I be here all day? Or you going to be here all day? I'll pretty much be here. I should be here most of the day. I'm probably going to take a 1 hour break around 3 o'clock or so, and then we'll be back again for live coverage at 4. We'll probably take a 1 hour intermission so I can eat and fuel up for our live stream, later for basically the landfall. But we'll be here for the next several hours, at least for, what's happening now and what's to come. We do have a new tornado warning. That is going to be for Glynn County, Georgia, near Brunswick, St. Simmons, Country Club Estates, Harrington, German Village, New Hope, Boys Estate. If you are in this warning, seek shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible, and in an interior room of your home or building, as this will be moving off to the northwest over the next several minutes. And make sure that you're in your safe place. It's possibly we might even have a fishnado moving inland near St. Simmons. So very possible. Might be able to check some of the live cameras here. Let's see if we have any live shots of this. What's the thingamabobber? Let's see. Thank you, Tisa, for the $20 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for Tisa. Appreciate the generosity. Thank you, Waco, for the super chat. Lakeland, Florida, mostly going to be just wind gusts, low tornado risk. Wind gusts up to 60 to 70 miles per hour, the main concern. Thank you also, Molly, for becoming a member, and welcome to the Velocities. All right, we do have cameras in Savannah. Let's check and see if we have a couple cameras actually here. So we're going to check in on these cameras and see if we got anything for a view. We have one right on St. Simmons Island. Once it loads, I'll show you guys. If it loads. It might not load if the power went out. But, I mean, this tornado, if there is a tornado, it'd be moving right into Epworth Acres. Let's go back to, we're gonna go back to this screen for now. There's probably still a tornado on the ground, and that, or there might still be a tornado on the ground, that the other South Carolina tornado warning, but no updates in the last 8 minutes on that. Right, the one camera that we have there is not loading, so power may have gone out there. I think there's a pretty good chance that we don't have power on this island. Either that or the cameras just don't want to cooperate. But if the camera does load, we'll pull into it. Thank you, Dev, for the $20 super chat. Appreciate that. Some W's in the chat for Dev, or Devil. Alright, let's see what we're looking at back up on that other tornado warning. Let's see if there's anything happening there. I have a little bit of broad circulation north of Apalachicola, but I don't think they're going to issue a new tornado warning on this. It'll probably just be let to expire. Let's check out this camera here and see if anything's happening. Nothing too crazy right now. Again, this is a camera right along the shoreline near Apalachicola in Florida. And in this part of Florida, we are expecting a few water spouts probably during the late morning, early afternoon, and then more than anything, we're going to be dealing with more of a storm surge threat and obviously hurricane force winds later today. We do have a new outlook from the Weather Prediction Center. We are now up to a high risk of flash flooding in a very large area. They've expanded this even further. I don't know the last time we had a high risk for flash flooding this large. It includes western North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, almost all of Georgia, at least central and southern Georgia in this, and then also back through Florida. So the high risk for excessive rainfall has now expanded even further. That is massive. I've never seen, I don't know the last time we had a high risk this large. I'm not sure how many square miles that is, but that's got to be a lot. $29,700 square miles. That's about almost 5 million people that are currently in this high risk for excessive rainfall. That's a lot. I've never seen a high risk that large for flash flooding. So on top of the issues that we're already going to have with storm surge and hurricane force winds and all that sort of stuff, another big concern is going to be the extreme flooding threat back over into Georgia, you know, South Carolina, the higher elevations there of South Carolina and North Carolina. It's going to be a pretty bad day, and tomorrow's going to be pretty bad too, unfortunately. That convection is starting to wrap around a little bit more around this eye. We are starting to see that convection wrap a little bit more around the eye right now. Let's go to visible satellite imagery. We have visible satellite right now on Hurricane Helene. This thing looks very nasty right now. That eye still looks east of the cone. Still looks kind of east of the cone. Alright, so this is the exact eye. Just for reference, the eye is actually just west of where you're seeing that clearing out. So it's just off to the west. Even with that said, it is still technically, that eye is still technically riding up the east side of the cone right now. So, look at that thing. Crazy. If this convection can wrap all the way around, we are going to be talking about some rapid intensification, I think, in a few hours. Thank you, Lindsay, by the way, for the $10 donation through the donation link in the description. Appreciate that. Appreciate the comment as well. That's a crazy looking view, though, on satellite imagery. This might be one of the craziest things I've ever looked at. Let's go back to infrared. Let's go to mesoscale 1. This is, let's just do like the last 50 frames. So this will be the last 50 minutes. This is a much higher, this is a more high definition view of this. So will look more interesting. This will be the last 50 minutes on a loop. Just look at that convection blowing up right there. I'm gonna go and take off the cone. I'm just gonna take off all that stuff, just so you can see the, you know, this looks like a beast. That's the easiest way to put it. Unbelievable. Let's look at this on infrared as well. This is, by the way, this is basically looking every single minute This is a 1 by 1 minute like frame loop that we're looking at. So essentially what we're looking at is every single minute over the last 50 minutes of this hurricane. On the mesoscale G16. And so, yeah, that just bananas. I hate to use this word, but it's honestly kind of stunning to see something like this. It's crazy. You know, when Beryl happened back in July, that was also crazy. See the eye on that too. Again, the center of circulation is a bit further west of where you're seeing, you know, this right here. I think that this will probably get closed off and we'll end up seeing actually a more defined eye. Potentially some sort of rapid intensification this afternoon. Also, here's a 3D view. Let's do Gulf of Mexico. There you go. So that's a 3D view. This is some more of a 60-minute loop. So, pretty crazy stuff. Thank you, Cookie, for the super chat. The $20 super chat. Appreciate the generosity. Put some W's in the chat for Cookie. Appreciate that. Thank you, Jeremy, for the super chat. Jeremy, I mean, I guess, man. I guess so. I mean, I guess it will go... I'm still not going to say that phrase, but yeah, I think so. It's very possible. Friendly reminder, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. Click the bell icon also, so you're notified with the latest updates. And we live here throughout most of the day today with landfall coverage. We're going to have several live storm chasers later today. We don't have any right now that are live, but we will have several storm chasers later today that will be out there in the field. So we're going to have tons of storm chasers out there, tons of live camera feeds. So make sure that you hit the red button down below and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, Rhonda, for the super chat. Thank you also, Arlie, for the $5 donation through the donation link. Houston County, Georgia. I don't think Max sleeps. I had 6 hours of sleep. I was not going to go live this morning, and I woke up at like 9, and I couldn't go back to bed because of this hurricane. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to go live. So, back up in Houston County, Georgia. That's near Perry. We're expecting mostly the threat for hurricane force wind gusts. If we go back to the forecasted wind gusts over in Georgia for today, again, or tonight, I should say, overnight tonight, we're going to be talking about the potential for 70 to 90 mile per hour wind gusts just to the southeast of Macon. And it's really going to ramp up between about midnight to like 6 a.m. That's going to be like the peak of this. So you can basically expect hurricane force wind gusts potentially as high as 100, but current thinking, at least on this computer model, is closer to 80 miles per hour. Hey, Smiley for the super chat. I'm not doing that. Hey, Brian for the super chat. Maybe another day. Maybe another day. Northeast Florida. Northeast Florida, mostly going to be wind today. There will be a little bit of storm surge near the coastline. But the wind is really going to be the biggest concern there, in addition to maybe a couple of tornadoes. So wind gusts upwards of 60 to 75 miles per hour this evening is really the biggest concern. Thank you, Az, for the super chat. There's no storm chasers on a boat today. I know. There's no storm chasers today on a boat. At least from what I know. I mean, you never know. There might be one somewhere out there. Thank you also, Stuff, for becoming a member. Thank you, Kathy, for the super chat. Yeah, stay safe in Savannah. Savannah should, again, be mostly wind as well. Savannah, Georgia. Could see, again, a couple tornadoes today. Very possible in that vicinity. But it should be more of a wind concern up there. More than anything. Any confirmed flying trampoline spottings today? Not from what I know. I don't think we have any flying trampolines quite yet. But today's flying trampoline meter is at a gone forever stage. So if you have a trampoline and you're in the state of Florida, you might want to hatch that thing down. Because if you don't hatch it down today, it could literally end up in another zip code, or it could end up in another state. It also could end up in the ocean. So definitely recommend that you hatch down your trampolines today. It is at a gone forever stage today. Thank you, Jeremy, for the 5 gifted members. You got a gifted membership, make sure to thank Jeremy in the chat. Thank you, Jared, for the $10 super chat. That's on Pivotal Weather, the wind gust map that I was just looking at. They do have a 12Z run coming on this model. We'll check that out real quick. It's still pretty similar to before. This most recent model run on the RRFS has this a little bit closer to Tallahassee. Tallahassee, in my opinion, is either going to get hit really hard with wind, or you might just kind of be on the edge where you get mostly tropical storm force winds. So it's going to be a pretty close call, I think, for Tallahassee. But Tallahassee's going to get hit hard no matter what, I think. It's just a matter of what you're actually going to get hit hard by. Whether that's wind, flooding, rainfall potential, whatever it might be. There's going to be major impacts there. Check out the forecasted rainfall accumulation on this model, too. Yeah, I mean, this is a concern right here. Like, we're talking about the potential near Tallahassee and just east of Panama City for, again, possibly catastrophic flooding. Upwards of, like, 10 to 15 inches of rain, even maybe isolated spots near 20 inches of rain right near the coastline. That's definitely concerning. Thank you, Angela, for the $10 donation through the donation link. I appreciate that. Where's the famous bench? I don't know, man. Why are other YouTubers saying Category 2 at Landfall? This is going to be I have no doubt this is going to be a Cat 3, to be honest. I mean, I don't know what YouTubers are saying that, but there are certain YouTubers, for some reason, that have been down. Like, I saw somebody title their thumbnail, "This will not be a major hurricane at Landfall," or something. I can't believe I saw that. And that was, like, yesterday, I think, or the day before. Like, that is just so... when the National Hurricane Center is forecasting like a high-end Cat 3, low-end Cat 4, you can't be using words like that. Because people are going to take it way less seriously, especially when this is actually a pretty serious deal. Even if this is a high-end Cat 2, let's say it's not a major hurricane upon landfall, this is still going to produce major storm surge, and it's still going to be significant regardless of the winds. It's still going to produce really significant winds as well to the state of Florida. It is one of the largest hurricanes that we've had in decades. You know, this is in the top percentile, top like 10% that we've ever seen in terms of size of hurricanes, and it's going to produce substantial flooding, you know? So... I can't stress it enough, but like, there are people, for some reason, I don't know why somebody would downplay this to that extent. At least they didn't say that, you know, this will not be a hurricane or something, because that would literally just be the worst thing to say. But this is why some people, I don't know, it's... Hey, Ruben, for the super chat. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it. No shot. Not today. No, seriously, it's bad. It's bad practice, and again, the person that did that, I'm pretty sure is not even a meteorologist. It's bad practice. Like, you can't say that this isn't going to be a major hurricane, especially when the environment in the Gulf of Mexico is extremely favorable for there being a major hurricane like this one that we're probably going to have here pretty soon. It's already a high-end Cat 2, by the way. It's going to be a Cat 3, almost undoubtedly later this afternoon, and it could make a run again at a low-end Cat 4. But just with the environment, there's really nothing that would stop this, aside from the dry air that we did have, you know, last night. But other than that, I mean, there just wasn't really much that was stopping this. So... The tornado warning right now near Brunswick, Georgia, not really seeing any rotation on radar anymore. And then the other one back over near Midway still has some strong circulation near Midway approaching McIntosh, just northeast of Hinesville. So if you're in that pink polygon, continue to stay in your safe place. As of now, those are only 2 tornado warnings for now. Thank you, Christian, for the super chat. Thank you, Joss, also for the $5 donation through the donation link. I appreciate the generosity. We do have a live cam. We're going to go to a couple live cameras here on Cape Weather. You can also watch these cameras with the link down in the description. This is back over. This is the one camera that you've been seeing. This is right near the Bokeelia Pier in Cape Coral, Florida. So again, the water's already getting up to the pier. We're going to see that storm surge ramp up later today, and this pier might actually be completely flooded over with water later today. So this is our live shot right near the coastline. Some birds flying around. But we are beginning to see some flooding there. And then also we have another live shot. This is over in the Four Winds Marina in Bokeelia, Florida. And the water is already starting to get over the edge. You can actually see it flooding already on the sidewalk here. So the water has already gone to a pretty high height. Look at the trees back here too. Tropical storm force wind gusts definitely in the area. Winds are pretty strong here already near Cape Coral, Florida. Hey, William, for the super chat. There has been a bit of an east wobble. It hasn't been enough, I think, for a major track shift, but we still think this is making landfall in the Big Bend today. We don't think this is moving towards Tampa. It might be like moving towards Tampa like right now, but like it's gonna turn, I think, no matter what. So that's the 4 Keys Marina. Again, that's the Cape Weather camera. We have a few others as well we're gonna pop into here. Wow. What is happening here? This is the Malacha Bridge in Lee County. What is happening? This camera's like shaking like crazy. Those waves are pretty high. I mean, there's definitely storm surge here. But this camera's propped up so high, it's getting hit by literally tropical storm force wind gusts right now. Rip to this camera. I don't think this camera's gonna be here later today. Look at that surge just crashing here along the shoreline. They have another one too. This is the other view on the bridge. Thank you, Dave, for the super chat. I'll go over the rainfall again here in a few minutes. Hey, Salas CS for the $20 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for Salas CS. Appreciate the generosity. No problem at all. Appreciate you tuning in. Looks windy? Yeah, it's a little windy. Just a little bit. Thank you, Matthew, also for the Venmo. Matthew, yeah, there will be more instability building today in central Florida, especially if you're seeing some blue skies. So, yeah, those outer bands definitely have a better shot at producing a tornado threat. We might have to put this camera at the bottom right. Might have to. Why are people driving? Good question. I don't know. This area is expected to see up to 5 feet of storm surge today. This is back down near Cape Coral, Florida right now. Thank you, CB, for the super chat. No problem at all. I mean, this camera, literally, I've never seen a camera wobble like this before. The storm surge is just crashing up the coast, or along the coastline here. See if there's any other camera views too. That's just, yeah, there's several cameras on the Cape Weather website. This is another camera, not nearly as, dramatic right now, but this is what we're looking at here. This is back over on the D&D bait and tackle web camera in Matalacha, Florida. Also got a few beach cams, I think. Yeah, this is right along the coastline from the Mucky Duck Captivia Island. The wave's pretty high. Thank you, Bruce, also for the super chat. The tide is falling now, and the next high tide is 11:35 tonight. Where at? What part of Florida are we talking about? Talking about down here? This is another live camera. This is the Pink Shell web camera in Fort Myers, Florida. So again, wave height's a little high right now. They're going to keep increasing throughout the day today. Where do you see these cameras? These cameras specifically are on capeweather.com, which should be linked in the description. For some reason it isn't. Let me put that in the description. One moment, please. Alright, the description was just updated. It's just below the Storm Chaser links. Yeah, they have a ton of live cameras on their website. Huge shout out to Cape Weather for letting us use the cameras today. I missed the bench. Hey, the bench might return, I don't know. Maybe we'll see a bench today. Maybe we'll be floating or something. Let's see. Thank you, Op, for becoming a VIP Velocity member. Appreciate it. Put some W's in the chat for Op. That is our highest tiered membership on the channel. Just saw a bench on the harbor cam. All right, we'll check it out. Did too many of you guys go to the website at the same time? Because, dude, it's like taking forever to load now. I think we might have crashed the website. The website might be chalked. All right, we'll go back to those cameras, though, in a few minutes. All right, let's go back to satellite. If you're just tuning in, this is what Hurricane Helene looks like right now. The eye has become pretty apparent. It's kind of more located, though, a little bit further west of where you're seeing the actual, like, clearing. But with that said, it is intensifying as it continues to move off to the north and north-northeast. This is currently on track for the Big Bend of Florida to make landfall later tonight as a high-end Cat 3 or low-end Cat 4 hurricane. It is kind of crazy to see on the satellite imagery this morning, but that's what it currently looks like as it continues to move northbound. Thank you, Emo, for becoming a 5-month member. Thank you also, Carl, for the $20 super chat. Keaton Beach. Keaton Beach is back up here in the Big Bend. Keaton Beach is going to be hit hard, I think. We're going to be seeing some significant storm surge in Keaton Beach, for sure. So, I think Keaton Beach is going to be one of the most impacted areas out of this with storm surge. And then potentially even some hurricane, or definitely some hurricane force winds as well. Thank you, Op, for the 50 gifted members. Put some W's in the chat for Op. And if you got a gifted membership, make sure and thank Op in the chat. I really appreciate the generosity. Thank you, Op, for the 50 gifted members. Holy cow. We're going to put up another camera here in a second. I'm waiting for them to load. I think the website may have just, like, gotten overloaded with too many people trying to look at it. So... We'll pull up a live camera once it actually comes up. Thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat. Get your cheese curds and hunker down. Definitely agree. We have still one tornado warning in effect southwest of Savannah. This one goes for 6 more minutes. Still have some circulation. Going to be moving towards 144. We also have some new rotation developing east of Jessup. Not enough for tornado warning yet, but something to watch for. And back over in Florida right now, we don't have anything really tornadic. It's pretty dry right now for most of the state, but we'll see things ramping up, I think, later today. Again, I got several of these Project Mesovorts on the Radar Omega app. If you want to watch them, you can download the app with the top link in the description below on iOS and Android. You have to be a subscriber to access them, but I highly recommend you become a subscriber inside the app. But got tons of different live cameras here.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
All right, we have a new tornado warning. New tornado warning for Franklin, Liberty, and Gulf counties in the state of Florida. Which you guys are going to see that warning pop up on your screen in just a second. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Maybe. It's up here somewhere. But if you're in that warning, seek shelter. It's moving northwest at 31 miles per hour. Oh, it's going to be this right here. All right, so just north of Apalachicola. It's going to be moving towards Weehawken in Florida. So you're going to see the polygon pop up here in a second. There you go. So if you're in that warning, seek shelter. Near 65, moving northwest. Going to be on track eventually for the Larkin Fish Camp. All right, going back to that camera. This is, again, the Cape Weather camera in Malacha Bridge. And this is a better view now. It's not shaking as crazy as much as before, but that's a live view right now. Oh, now it's shaking again as we clicked on it. This is back down near Cape Coral. And so, again, very windy here. Storm surge ramping up. Water's really pushing inland right now. Thank you, Armando, for the $10 super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you, Sierra, for becoming a member, and welcome to the Velocities. This is probably the best camera that we have right now, though. in terms of storm surge. Thank you, Op, for the $50 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for Op. Yeah, I'm glad I can help. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for the generosity. Need Charlie for the super chat as well. If you have any questions about Hurricane Helene, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll try to answer some of them as we continue to watch some of the impacts begin here in Florida. What are the winds where the camera is? Good question. That's a good question. I'm gonna look on the we'll look on the map and see. We do have METAR data, so it'll at least give us some idea. Let's do wind speed. So the wind speed currently being measured here is about 25 miles per hour. Wind gusts are probably upwards of like 40 to 45 up here over near Cape Coral. That's where we're currently at, is near Cape Coral, Florida. You can actually now see the eye on the Tampa Bay radar. You can kind of see it a little bit. It's hard to see, but that's the general area. It's like right about here or so. You're actually able to see that now on the radar. Stay on this camera here for a few minutes. Thank you, Kathy, for the super chat. Watching from Minnesota. Nothing's really happening in Minnesota right now. It's pretty quiet there. Friendly reminder, if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit the red button down below and subscribe. If everybody subscribes that's in the stream right now, we might hit 390,000 subscribers. So make sure to subscribe down below. Thank you, Punisher, for the super chat. I don't think this is going to turn towards Tampa. I highly doubt it. Motion sickness camera? I don't know, man. I mean, I guess if you have motion sickness, I can see that. This isn't like, this is an area that we're currently looking at a potential storm surge of like 5 feet. Like, that's the peak, I'm pretty sure. That's forecasted. I mean, so far, it's looking pretty bad. Granted, this part of Florida is going to see most of the storm surge today. Again, we're over near Cape Coral for reference. This camera is mounted on a pool noodle. This is the same camera, but looking the other way. You can see how fast the water is moving in right now. Moving in very quickly. The wind is just so strong here already. Thank you, DD, for becoming a member, and welcome to the Velocities. I think what we might end up doing is putting this camera on the right side of your screen, to be honest. Instead of the one that we currently have. We might just end up doing that. It might take a second to do, but I think we're going to do that. You guys rather have this camera on the right side of your screen instead of the one we have right now? The other one's the Pier camera. We also could just put it bottom right on the other graphic, but I think I'm going to stay here for now. Thank you, Iron, for the $10 super chat. It's not a bad idea to change planes. I would play it safe with this hurricane. Play it safe. That would be my opinion. Bridge camera? Alright. It's going to take a second to fix, because I didn't have it set up for that, but just give me one moment to do that. Okay. Alright, this is near Cape Coral, Florida. Technically, it's the Matlacha Bridge. Alright, so that's where that's at right now. We'll keep that there. The eye wall is pretty much closed, and what we're kind of watching for right now is if this convection can wrap all the way around the eye. If it's able to, we think that this is going to go pretty crazy over the next few hours, so. It's the current thinking. Thank you, Tyler, for the $20 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for Tyler. Appreciate the generosity. Thank you, Lunatic, also for the super chat. Don't forget to share the stream. Yeah, feel free to share the stream with anybody that you know in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina. Again, we'll be covering this most of today. I can't guarantee we're going to be having this as one, live stream and just this one. I think we're going to have a 1 hour break sometime around 3 or so this afternoon. Again, that's still like 3 hours away, but I'm going to have at least some sort of break to eat before it really gets crazy in Florida. So... Oh, thank you to George for the 5 gifted members. Appreciate that. If you got a gifted membership, make sure to thank George in the chat. Sorry, I missed that. Thank you also, Guardian, for the $20 super chat. Appreciate that. No eating? Yeah, let's just not eat today. I had Taco Bell for breakfast. It was horrendous. I mean, here's the other thing. If we are live here for until 3, the other thing that we can do is just we're gonna have to have a second stream, I think, anyways, with how long we're gonna be live today, because we're probably gonna be live until at least midnight tonight. So with that said, we're probably gonna need to have a second stream because the limit on YouTube for streams is like 12 hours. So in this stream, if we kept going until then, we would be live for over 12 hours. So. Is it true the storm surge could hit 20 feet? It is. Yeah, that's the National Hurricane Center currently has the peak storm surge forecast right now up to 20 feet. Back over in the Big Bend of Florida. So, yeah, it's gonna be significant. Again, we have never had a storm surge forecast this high before. I mean, like, at least from the most recent hurricanes. The highest before this was Ian. The peak storm surge forecast was 12 to 18 feet. Idalia was the same thing. Both of them hitting Florida. So, I mean, this is pretty substantial. Thank you, Mike, for the super chat. I got cheese curds yesterday. Thank you, Jay, for the super chat. Richmond, Virginia is not going to really see much. Not really. Just some rain maybe tomorrow and some wind gusts. I've been to Richmond, Virginia, by the way, before. Pretty nice place. Thank you, Denise, for the $20 super chat. Appreciate that. Put some W's in the chat for Denise. Let's head back on over this live camera for now. There are people out here, actually. I didn't even notice that. There are literally 2 people out here right now. Actually, it looks like more than that. We got like 4 people here. I think one of these people might be on a news station or something. I can't really tell. But one of those people might actually be on like some sort of news station. There's like a white SUV right here, which makes me feel like somebody's recording something. Thank you, Kata, for the $5 super chat. I don't think so. You should be alright by then. Cantori? I don't think that's Jim Cantori. I don't think Jim Cantori went down here to Cape Coral, Florida to intercept this hurricane. If he's out there, he's probably back up in the Big Bend. Thank you, please, for the $5 super chat. I don't know where that county is. The Max Velocity News Van. Absolutely. We got the Max Velocity News Van out here. 100%. Thank you, KMC, for the $20 super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you, Ember, for the $5 super chat as well. The eastern side is definitely the worst part of almost every hurricane. It's almost always the eastern side. So, you know, this time around, it's no different. We're still talking about the same sort of thing. The worst side of this hurricane will be the eastern side. If the landfall happens here, like, we're going to get the worst impacts mostly on the eastern side. Now, again, we're still going to see impacts on the west side and even right down the middle of where it goes, but we definitely are talking about the worst impacts pretty much, you know, on the east side almost all the time. All that storm surge, again, going to really just funnel into the bays and whatnot, which we're already seeing that back over in Charlotte Harbor right now. But, like, the Big Bend is going to really see that as well later today. When is Connor chasing? Connor's going to be chasing, I think, at 4, so... Yeah, he'll be chasing at 4, and we'll have Connor, Brandon Kopic, Corey Girk, and a bunch of chasers out there. That camera is actively moving. The camera might be, I don't know what they're doing with the camera, but we'll go back to it in a second. But yeah, 15-20 feet of storm surge expected in the Big Bend. And that is where we have 7 different radar Omega mesovorts. This is one of them, by the way. This is right attached to a house. And these mesovorts you can watch inside the Radar Omega app if you're a subscriber. We already have some puddling here. Might just be from the rain, but we already have some puddling on the roads here in Dark Island, Florida. But yeah, that water's gonna be rising a lot more later today. It's gonna get pretty interesting later today for sure. We got rotation right now near Highway 65 moving northwest. A little bit of broad circulation near Bluntstown, Florida as well. Let me take off this METAR data. Alright. But yeah, it's still potential for a couple tornadoes here. Nothing really in central Florida right now that's tornadic or looks tornadic. We'll be watching this activity just offshore of Englewood. We might get a tornado warning at some point here soon near Sarasota or Englewood. Unwarned tornado just happened at KLCX. What radar site is that, B. Smith? Hey, Lunatic, and also Caleb for the super chats. What radar site is that? What part of the... Charleston? Where was this? By the radar site. I don't see anything. I don't see what you're talking about. Thank you, Kata, also for the $5 super chat. That's awesome. Have fun. All right, talking about this. This might be right here. What scan is that? 1142. Maybe this. I mean, we may have just had a brief tornado. Yeah, it looks like that would have been your tornado. Possibly a little brief tornado near Gillisonville in South Carolina. That's what we're looking at. All right. Thank you, Huber, also for the 555 super chat. Appreciate that. All right, let's go back to that camera. They were moving it around a little bit. We'll go back to it. And this is the Cape Weather camera. You can check these out. The link's in the description. This is the storm surge right now. I'm going to keep this on. I'll be back in 60 seconds. Taking a quick 60-second break. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Yeah, this is barely storm surge compared to what we're going to see later. This camera's going crazy again. I mean, like, this is that storm surge that we're seeing right now. It is so minimal compared to what we're going to see later this afternoon. It's going to ramp up a ton later today, especially back up again in the Big Bend. Again, we're looking at Cape Coral. I mean, yes, we're going to see storm surge over the next few hours. But again, it's nowhere near what we're going to see later today and when the actual landfall's happening. It's going to be a night and day difference, I think. This still looks kind of crazy, though. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is still 3 to 5 feet of storm surge that's currently forecasted there. But, I mean, basically multiply that by over 4 times, and that's what we're going to get, basically, in the Big Bend of Florida. Kayla, for storm surge in Hudson, Florida. I'm not sure where Hudson is. But most of the storm surge is going to happen like later today, unless you're back down in south or southwestern Florida or back near Tampa. If you're back up here in like the Big Bend, anywhere in like this area, your storm surge is really going to ramp up, I think, after like, I'd say 4 or 5 o'clock. And then after that, it'll keep going. Sanibel Bridge cam looks really rough. Is that on Cape Weather too? Or is that a different camera? I found the Causeway camera. There are a couple cameras in Sanibel. Oh, it is on Cape Weather? Okay, let me look. I just found a couple of other cameras there. Sanibel Bridge. Oh, it's not the Sanibel Island toll. Oh yeah, look at that. This is another camera on Cape Weather. Sanibel Toll Bridge. Very windy here as well. You got storm surge crashing over this wall right now too. Let me put this more into shot. The left side of your screen. Thank you, Rhett, for the super chat. Yeah, stay safe. Have a tornado action plan ready to go for today. Thank you, Jake, also for the $5 super chat. My grandparents are hunkered down a few miles inland from Venice, Florida, near Northport. I would say, again, main concern today is going to be tropical storm force wind gusts, and then the potential for a couple of tornadoes. It's really the biggest concerns for today. Thank you, Shane, for the super chat. How's it going, Olive and Lennox? Or Lennox? People literally driving over that bridge right now. I'd be scared to drive over a bridge with that kind of wind. Not gonna lie. I think I would be pretty scared of that. Storm looks disorganized. I think it's a little disorganized, but it's definitely looking more impressive. I mean, we've had a lot of deep convection here over the last hour or so, really wrapping around the eye. If it could fully wrap, that's when this thing could literally rapidly intensify. But we go back to satellite imagery. Satellite looks, again, pretty crazy on this hurricane. We'll take off the track. I'm just going to keep off the track for now on this. But thank you, Tech, for the $5 super chat. Do you think a Cat 4 is still expected? I think Cat 4 is still possible. I wouldn't say it's, like, definitely going to happen, but I still think it's a pretty strong possibility, especially if this can rapidly intensify. Cat 3, I think, will happen no matter what, but Cat 4 is still possible. The difference, though, between it being a mid-category 3 at 120 mile per hour sustained winds and a Cat 4 at 130 mile per hour sustained winds is pretty minimal. The impacts are pretty much going to be the same. So I wouldn't expect anything crazy there. 12 p.m. update out? I don't think there's a 12 p.m. update unless they have a special update. Need to change the change the bottom right. Do they have a special update? I don't see any special update. One thing I do want to go to is the aircraft recon, because the hurricane hunters have been flying through the hurricane. They actively still are. The pressure, again, they're still measuring around 962 millibars. Just more in the center here. But they're still measuring around 962 millibars currently near the center, it looks like. Plane just did another fly-through. Let's check the chart here. Yeah, the lowest pressure that they've been measuring with the plane is around 962. The highest wind that they've gotten is over about 100 knots. So the highest wind that they've been measuring is around 100 knots. We're very close to a Cat 3, if it's not already a Cat 3. So this could already be a major hurricane, or it might be here very soon, with the current data that we're seeing. So we may or may not have a major hurricane right now, or we will probably, if we don't already have one, we're going to have one here very soon. Thank you, Jeff, for the $10 super chat. Hey, no problem. Appreciate you tuning in. Friendly reminder, if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit the red button down below and subscribe. Again, we'll have live coverage on Hurricane Helene almost all day today. And we'll have plenty of storm chasers later today probably inside the eye wall and inside some of the greatest impacts. We have tons of live cameras, one of them on the right side of your screen right now. We'll have more and more throughout the day today. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It's free to do. Red button down below. And we might even be able to hit 390,000 subscribers today. We're definitely getting up there right now. It just keeps climbing. Crazy. Do you think this is the last hurricane of the season? No, I think we're going to have at least one more hurricane before the season's over. Whether that hits Florida, Texas, whatever it is, I feel like we're going to have one more before the end of the season. Millibars are the measure of pressure. So, like a normal low pressure system over the United States would be like 1,000 millibars or 995 or something. Like usually they're not always that strong. Sometimes they can be, but not all the time. And then for a hurricane, you know, there's a whole chart that you can look at for hurricane intensity and stuff like that. But essentially, a category 1 hurricane is usually around like 970-ish, 980 millibars. Cat 2 is usually like 960-ish, kind of in that range. Cat 3 is usually around 950, 940. Anything under 940 is usually a Cat 4, and then usually a Cat 5 is like under 925, 920. So that's a general range, though. Again, hurricanes are not based off of pressure. They're based off of their intensity of wind speed. They used to be based off pressure, but they're not anymore. So, yeah, wind is more important for actual intensity than the intensity. Hey, Weston, also for the super chat. I'll be impacted, but hopefully not much. Hopefully. All right, let's check out the wind gusts here. This is the latest RRFS model run for wind gusts. And the most significant wind gusts that we're going to see will be later this afternoon into the evening. So this is what's happening right now. This is an estimate. So where we were looking at Cape Coral, wind gusts around 50 miles per hour or so. They are going to ramp up throughout the afternoon hours, especially near Tampa. This is by 4 o'clock, so the wind's only going to keep increasing on the west coast of Florida. Some of the worst wind we're going to see in Tampa and Sarasota will be right around 5 or 6 tonight. And then eventually by 7 to 8, the eye continues to move towards Tallahassee. By 8 to 9, the wind starts to move more inland. Just after midnight is when we'll probably have right around the worst winds. And after that, it's pretty much done in Florida. But yeah, the wind field's going to be pretty large. Again, this is one of the largest hurricanes that we've had in quite a while. So, thank you, Larry.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
Tornado warning coming off. Thank you, Larry, for the $50 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for Larry. Appreciate the generosity. I appreciate that. New tornado warning for Bluntstown in Florida. This is back up in the Panhandle. This is one area that we were talking about earlier. Near Bluntstown moving north. It's a broad area of circulation near Bristol and Bluntstown moving north. On track for the Alpha area. So if you are in this warning, seek shelter. Away from windows, lowest floor possible. And in an interior room of your home or building. And this is currently moving to the north. Eventually going in the direction of Interstate 10. We also have that tornado warning still ongoing for those in Franklin, Liberty, and Gulf counties. Continue to stay in your safe place if you're in that warning. We're going to be watching these cameras along the coastline for maybe a water spout or two. We've never had a water spout on stream before. We have possibly a fishnado, though, right here going towards Apalachicola. So maybe, just maybe, we get a view of a water spout here today. If that happens, that'd be kind of cool. I don't think that's ever happened on one of our streams before, so that'd be pretty lit. Alright, we're going to go back to that camera in Matlacha Bay for just a moment. Again, storm surge really ramping up here near Cape Coral, Florida. Thank you, Deanna, for becoming a 4-month member. From Washington State. Sheesh. It's far away. Thank you also, Wendy, for the Venmo. Appreciate that. Power companies are lined up ready for power outages. Yeah, the power outages today and tomorrow, they're going to be pretty numerous to widespread. Not for all of Florida, but really where this makes landfall and around it, it's going to be widespread. And the power could be out for like a week or two for some areas. Possibly even a month near the Big Bend and where it makes landfall. Sharknado's possible? I don't know about Sharknado's, but we'll definitely have some Fishnado's out there for sure. I'm surprised how many cars are crossing this bridge. I mean, I don't know, man. It's very windy, but like we don't have like any sort of crazy water that's like flooding the pier here yet. Like you can kind of see, I paused the image here, but you can see it's not really flooded. Like you can still see the lines on the road, so it's not really flooded, but this is the Matlacha Bridge in near Cape Coral, Florida. Thank you, Alexander, for the super chat. Appreciate it. All of them failed driving school. Wow. I was classes today? I didn't have classes. I don't have any classes today anyways. Thank you, Michael. I assume people are evacuating. Well, this part of Florida, I mean, unless you're like on the immediate coastline, there aren't going to be that many people evacuating. Like in nature, back down here in Cape Coral, we're really talking about, again, like 3 to 5 feet of storm surge, and that's really about it. So unless you're right near the coastline, there isn't really much of a need to evacuate. Thank you, Alexander, for becoming a member, and also thank you, Gonzalez, for the super chat. I don't think Ohio is going to get any tornadoes out of this at all. Thank you, Dark Cascade, also for the super chat. Are there many coastal cameras around the Big Bend to see? Yeah, again, we got a ton of them. We got a lot on the Radar Omega app. There are Project Mesovorts in place. We got one in Horseshoe Beach. Got one back over in Steinhatchee, Florida. We got 2 back over near Keaton Beach. One of them on Dark Island. So, I mean, we got tons of cameras that we'll be using throughout the live Landfall stream today. Carabel, Florida. We got one here, too. I don't know if we've ever had one in Carabel, but that's a view of Carabel. This camera, I think, will be one of our best ones because we're on a bridge. We're going to be looking into this island, probably, where it's going to probably be flooded later today. And then we also have one back over near Apalachicola. Landfall estimate. Landfall will probably be between about 9 o'clock or so to 11 o'clock tonight. The latest model run here has it making landfall at 11-ish, maybe almost 12. So landfall probably around 11. Out of curiosity, we're going to look at a few other computer models and see what it shows for landfall timing. The HRRR, which is dialed in a little bit more than yesterday, that one is showing landfall around 11:30 or so tonight. And then if we go to like the, let's see, what other model should we use? None of these are hurricane models, but I mean, at least gives you an idea. Actually, we can go on Radar Omega. Let's use the hurricane models on the Radar Omega app, and let's go to the HWRF model for Helene. Let's see when this makes landfall on here. So this one has it making landfall about at 11 as well. So most of the models have gone back a little bit. So, I mean, before it was kind of a range of 8 to 11. I would say now it's probably closer to 10 p.m. to, like, midnight. Pretty large eye, though, that we're going to be dealing with. And then if we go to the HMON model, this one has it making landfall almost at 2 a.m. I don't think it's going to make landfall that late. But I think 11 p.m. is pretty reasonable right now. Thank you, Taylor, for the super chat. Pinellas County is starting to get some pretty serious storm surge. Tiger barriers getting put up all over. Let me see if we have any cameras there. We might. Long stream today? Yeah, it's gonna be a long day of streaming. That is for sure. We've been preparing for this all week with our longer streams the last few days. Alright, let's see. Let's check out Tampa and see what it looks like. We might have cameras, like, right on that shoreline. Let's see if we do. Well, we have some cameras, but a lot of them are already out. Our cameras, like, that look at, like, the beach that are already out. Let's see. We have some on the bridge. There are a lot of... Okay, this is one of the cameras. This is interesting. There are a lot of cars parked on the bridge here. This is a bridge. This is SR 682 near Tampa. There are a lot of cars parked on this bridge. I'm guessing this is like the safe place to put your car during a hurricane. Thank you, Mark, for the super chat. Yeah, we'll go back to that camera in a second. Thank you, Stuff, also for the $5 super chat. Thank you also, Jacob, for the super chat. Insurance? I don't know, man. I don't think so. I don't feel like that many cars would be there if it was for insurance. Alright, let's see. Anything else in here? Oh, this is another camera right in Tampa Bay. This camera is literally going crazy. But yeah, that's right in Tampa Bay. Very windy in Tampa, obviously. And this is just one of the indicators that we are going to be seeing storm surge here today. Very windy, winds coming from the ocean. Right now, they're coming more out of the south, so they're not... Storm surge won't be as big of a deal right now for Tampa, but later this afternoon, it's going to ramp up. Thank you, Deb, for becoming a member. And welcome to the Velocities. Let's go back to... Let's hop back over to that camera. And this is back over in Cape Coral, Florida right now. Storm surge continues to hammer the coastline here. Flooding inland has not really happened yet, but it is definitely looking like it's going to at some point here soon. How's it going, Storm Intermedia? Yeah, I can't disagree. That's how I was this morning, dude. I had like 6 hours of sleep. I wouldn't have been live this morning, but I couldn't go back to bed. This hurricane's like on my mind. Check out the other camera. This is the other camera. This camera looks like it's gonna fall down. This thing's like wobbling on this whatever it's on. This like pole. It looks like kind of loose on this pole. Bored here in Jacksonville. I mean, I guess that's probably a good thing right now. I don't know if you would want it to be kind of crazy right now. I love your channel. Thank you. And these are the Cape Weather cameras in the Cape Coral area. You can check them out on their website, link in the description. Thank you, Hannah, for the super chat. I think the Ocala area will be mostly a wind threat. Again, you're probably going to be talking about tropical storm force wind gusts upwards of like 60 to 70 miles per hour, closer to landfall. So, I mean, that's what I would expect up in that area. This is the HRRR, but it has a pretty good grasp, I'd say, on wind gusts. You'll probably be in the ballpark of 60 to 75 mile per hour wind gusts, though. Anyone know the pressure? It's at 960 millibars right now. Still want to know why that car is parked there? Honestly, I didn't think of this, but if I thought initially, I thought initially that there was like some TV person out here. I don't see anybody anymore. I thought there was somebody out there, like a TV station person or something, that was parked here. But maybe these people are just trying to, you know, do some insurance stuff or something. I don't know. Because there are several cars along here. And I'm not sure how many of these have been here for that long. I know we've had that white SUV there for quite a while. I don't know about these other cars. I wasn't paying attention to the ones at the top. Or more in the middle. There might be some funny business happening here, though. Thank you, April, for the super chat. Is there a website for these cameras? Yes. Once again, the cameras are... The link's in the description. It's Cape Weather. For these cameras specifically. Appreciate Cape Weather for letting us use the cameras today. Thank you, Ammo, for becoming a member, and welcome to the Velocities. How's it going, Limo? I think we reached about... I think we're around high tide right now here. I could be wrong, though. It's too early for this. It's only lunchtime. It's 12 o'clock. Not that early. You see the camera in the Keys? I've seen it, yeah. There's a camera down in the Florida Keys. I've seen it. I'm not sure if it's still going crazy there. It's still pretty crazy. Yeah, it's not really that crazy, though. It was crazier, I think, earlier today. Kind of caught your typical storm surge there. I have a little bit of rotation once again just west of Venice near Sarasota. We might see an isolated water spout out of one of those cells. And the eye of Helene right now is still well to the southwest of Tampa. Again, we are still expecting landfall this evening, sometime around 10 or 11 o'clock. If you have just tuned in and you have not already heard, this is expected to again make landfall as a major hurricane, has been for the last couple of days. The eye has become a little bit more pronounced. The convection has been wrapping around the eye as well, which has helped to basically help intensify this to some extent. And so we might be able to see more of a rapid intensification process take place as this moves towards Florida over the next few hours. But for the time being, again, just lots of convection currently on the northwest side of this hurricane. This is the current cone of uncertainty from the National Hurricane Center. Again, they are expecting this to become a Cat 3 hurricane by no later than this afternoon as this approaches the state of Florida. Expected to make landfall still as a high-end Cat 3, low-end Cat 4 hurricane. Hurricane warnings in effect across Georgia, Florida, and Alabama. Tropical storm warnings in effect all the way as far north as North Carolina and South Carolina. This will be a tropical storm all the way even throughout Georgia, so we are still expecting some major impacts even in parts of Georgia, especially in the hurricane warnings that we have in effect. And the latest computer model runs, the hurricane models, are going to be coming in over the next several minutes. I think we have the 12Z run coming in within the next probably 30 minutes or so. So we should have a new update on the computer models in terms of intensity that's forecasted upon landfall. But the HAFS-A model still has us making landfall as a 956 millibar hurricane. And then several others are down in the 940s, which would indicate a high-end Cat 3 or low-end Cat 4. Consensus continues to stay in the Big Bend of Florida for landfall, despite it still moving a bit more to the north-northeast. So Apalachicola probably going to see the landfall out of this hurricane. Again, the worst of the winds will continue throughout the afternoon and evening. They're going to ramp up more, I think, by 4 to 5 o'clock, especially near Tampa and also back near Sarasota. And they're also going to ramp up again back up near Tallahassee and then also back over in the Big Bend of Florida. So wind gusts will definitely be ramping up in those areas. Even South Carolina and Georgia are going to see some significant wind gusts overnight tonight to tomorrow morning. Power outages expected in many areas, or at least likely in many areas. So make sure you have flashlights ready to go, generators ready to go, anything like that. Have it all ready to go as we're going to see lots of high wind gusts across Georgia and South Carolina overnight tonight into Friday morning. And then that wind will all continue back up into the Ohio Valley as we go into Friday afternoon. Wind gusts could actually be as high as 60 miles per hour, even as far north as Indiana, Illinois, and Kentucky. So definitely going to see some crazy stuff there. Storm surge continues to remain a major concern for tonight. We're going to see, again, a lot of storm surge on the live cameras tonight. So a lot of stuff going to be happening, again, on our Landfall live stream. But 15 to 20 feet of storm surge currently in the forecast from Carabel back through the Suwannee River. Tampa Bay expected to be around 5 to 8 feet of storm surge. Charlotte Harbor around 3 to 5 feet. So a lot of areas going to be impacted by storm surge. And for reference, this is what storm surge looks like. Again, for a standard 2-story home right along the coastline with 20 feet of storm surge, it would literally probably not even be there tonight after this storm surge. So, again, take any evacuation orders seriously if you've not already, as we are expecting substantial storm surge tonight. Rainfall is another big concern, especially for the higher elevations of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, where there's a large high risk now for excessive rainfall. Latest update puts that high risk from Florida all the way back up into western North Carolina. So we're going to continue to see some pretty big impacts up there in terms of flooding. The tornado risk is elevated today. We are expecting several tornadoes today across the state of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. And then tomorrow, that threat will shift back up into the Carolinas and Virginia. Somebody just said unwarned tornado north of Savannah, Georgia. I don't see anything on radar that would indicate that. I don't see anything that would indicate that. Unless we're talking about, I mean, there's like a little bit of rotation near Pembroke. But I'm not seeing anything that looks that concerning. Oh, we're talking about this right here? Oh, this might be it. Oh, wow, look at this. Look at this supercell. This is an unwarned supercell right now near Hampton. That's north of the radar site. Well, this is well north of Savannah. That's near Varnville and Miley and going towards Williams. We don't have any CC drop on this, but the velocities are definitely organizing. I would be a bit surprised if we don't get a tornado warning on this. We don't even have a special weather statement on it. I'm pretty sure it did produce a brief tornado before it hit, or before the storm went by the radar site. Looks very organized, to say the least. How's it going, Tofu? Welcome back. Got a little bit of rotation further north as well. Look at the rotation in the mid-levels, too. Very strong velocities going and more in the direction of the other radar site going northbound. Thank you, Paul, for becoming a 4-month member. Yeah, I'll do 3D radar in a few minutes. See what the velocity show on this next scan here. How many hours have I been streaming Helene? If you include the last few days, it's probably over 12. If you just include today, I mean, we've been live for a little under 2 hours. Thank you, Rick, for becoming a moderate velocity member. Latest scan shows slightly broader rotation. Definitely have a hook, though. And if you're near Miley or Toby's Bluff or Islandton, I would stay at least away from windows in case that does drop a tornado. No warning, though, as of right now. Still watching for potential for waterspouts here near Apalachicola. This is a live camera on the Radar Omega app. This is, again, the Project Mesovort. If you're a subscriber inside the app, you have access to these cameras. This is a live shot here right on the shoreline near a bridge. Might see a waterspout on one of these cameras later today. We'll have to wait and see. Kind of crazy. We still have yet to see a waterspout. I don't think we've ever seen a waterspout, at least. We might have actually back last year in Louisiana, or earlier this year in Louisiana, but I can't remember. All right, let's check out that storm surge camera again. Friendly reminder, if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit the red button down below and subscribe. Again, we'll keep you posted with the latest with Hurricane Helene coverage throughout the day today. Make sure to like the stream as well. This is live, yes. This is a live camera, and it is also a live stream. Thank you, Greg, for the $5 super chat. No problem. Stay safe in Tallahassee. Thank you also to R. Lee for the $5 donation with the donation link. When will Houston County, Georgia be impacted? Your impacts will be mostly starting back up near Macon. You're going to be mostly from like 1 to 6 a.m. for the main impacts. Skyway bridge cameras? Let me look it up. Thank you, David, also for the $5 super chat. I need some good news. I don't know if you really have much good news. I think you're still going to get some of the worst wind. I would expect at least hurricane force wind gusts around 80 to 90 miles per hour. But honestly, I don't really have any good news for you. I wish I did, but I don't think I do. Thank you, Jenny, for becoming a member, and welcome to the Velocities. Thank you, Matthew, also for the super chat. Well, we've learned something. That car that's parked on the bridge doesn't seem as if it is, I could be wrong, but it just looks like it's been parked there for a while. That thing has not moved at all. So, there is a possibility that some funny business is happening here. Thank you, Spring Forward, for becoming a member, and welcome to the Velocities. Thank you, Anthony, for the $5 super chat. I appreciate them tuning in. Alright, big wind gust just hit this camera. It is shaking like crazy again. Here near Cape Coral, Florida. The latest SAR sounding. I'm gonna go take this camera off for a second. The latest SAR wind readings, excuse me, as of 11:15 a.m. show that the Hurricane Helene's core is fully intact with a large eye wall. The most intense winds currently located here on the north and east side of that eye wall. So we are starting to see some intensification that is really ramping up now as that eye wall continues to intensify. That's according to Storm HQ on Twitter. Also, there is going to be a localized tornado threat back over in the Florida Panhandle. That's mainly near Tallahassee. So if you're in this part of Florida, again, expect the potential for a couple or a few tornadoes over the next few hours. We have had a few tornado warnings there already. Maybe some fish-nados as well to go along with that. Will all be a possibility. Thank you, Earl, for the $10 super chat. How much storm surge will that bridge get? Probably around 3 to 5 feet. I think we're probably near the peak for now, and I think it'll ramp up again later. Thank you, Beth, for the $10 super chat as well. Thanks for watching from Canada. I think Daytona Beach will be mostly wind. Thank you, Addy, also for the super chat. Thank you, Ghosty, for the super chat. Appreciate all the super chats, donations, all that sort of stuff. How far inland will the winds go? It's literally going to be like all of Florida pretty much seeing the wind field. If you're talking about just the state of Florida, pretty much the entire state will see at least tropical storm force winds. But hurricane force winds will be mostly consolidated to either the west coast or back up into the Big Bend. And then also going into southern Georgia overnight tonight. Thank you, Anthony, for the super chat. Thank you, Kata, for the super chat as well. Let's go to, I want to go to the Ram slider. We're going to go back to that view. Let's go to Mesoscale 1. I want to get a close-up view of this hurricane. A close and personal view of this hurricane in high quality. Try to zoom in on this thing. The eye is trying to clear out. You can see it. The eye is trying to clear out there. It's on the Geocolor satellite. Let's go to the blue satellite. Yeah, look at that thing. A live shot on satellite right now of Hurricane Helene. Thank you, Michelle, for becoming a member, and welcome to the Velocities. Are you here right now, Connor? Or are you... I don't know if you're in the chat or watching. If you're here, my plan right now is this stream will go probably until like 2 and then or 3, and then I'll probably go live again later today. For Landfall. Oh, did you just go live? Okay. Never mind. Hey, Aqua for the super chat. We don't have a promo code. Connor just started streaming? Alright. You have a new risk of severe weather from the Storm Prediction Center. They've just updated the risk. The enhanced risk for tornadoes has grown in size. So it actually now includes southern North Carolina for today. And it's also more elongated in nature. So this is a larger tornado risk across the southeast. And that includes Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. So that risk has grown a little bit in size for the tornado risk. For comparison, this was the previous SPC outlook. The Westfester for the super chat, appreciate that. I don't know if I'll be able to pull up the last outlook. Actually, I can. Let's do this. Bada bing, bada boom. This one. Let's go to... Alright, so this was the previous tornado outlook. And so they've just expanded the 10% risk area for the more elevated tornado risk. It now includes more of this. So you'll see it here. This is what it was before, now that's what it is. So basically the only change is that they expanded that 10% tornado risk to include more of northeast South Carolina and as well as southern North Carolina. So the tornado risk has grown. Thank you, Joy, for the super chat. Thank you, Janelle, for the $20 donation through the donation link. I appreciate that. No problem at all. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for the generosity. How's the bench holding up? I don't know if we have a bench camera. Let's go through these cameras again. Let's see if we can find a bench. I don't know if any of these have a bench view. Horseshoe Beach, I'm not seeing a bench. But we do have a little shack. I guess we'll be watching the shack today. Maybe we get some shack merch going. A little shack merch. Jenna. This is what it looks like in Jenna right now. And then Heaton Beach, Florida. That's what it looks like. Also have another one in this area. I think Brandon's actually on this camera. We can go to Brandon Kopic right now if you guys want to. Let's check in with Brandon Kopic. He's on Radar Omega and on YouTube. That's what Brandon Kopic's looking at right now. You can check him out on the Radar Omega app at the top link in the description below on iOS and Android.
Let me make sure to get
here for the 24-hour stream. We're not going to be live for 24 hours.
Donation link.
That'd be crazy though if we were.
And then I'm going to look for this cat.
The next National Hurricane Center update will be at 2.
Yeah, it was the same cat.
Thank you, Addy, for the super chat. How
These
far
cats know what to do.
Georgia should people be preparing?
Already.
Really, the entire state. If you're under any sort of tropical storm or hurricane warning, you should be prepared. You should be prepared. Thank you, Metal, and as well, or thank you, Metal, for becoming a member. Thank you, Lisp, for the $5 super chat. No, I still think Helene's going to make landfall where the cone of uncertainty is from the National Hurricane Center. I think there's a lot of hype around shifts and stuff like that for some reason. This is our other camera in Carabel, Florida. Again, this is on the Radar Omega app. If you're a subscriber on the Radar Omega app, you get access to these cameras. Let's put on the radar up here, see if there's anything happening. Not really seeing much rotation on anything. This is the St. George Island camera as well. No bench from what I can see. Maybe there's one on the other coast. Current landfall estimate is around 11 o'clock tonight. So 11 p.m. tonight is when we think landfall will happen. So yeah, again, we're definitely splitting today's streams up into 2. So this stream will go until probably about 2:30, 3 o'clock or so, and then our second stream will start up around 4 or 5, and then go all the way until landfall, and probably a little bit after landfall tonight. And our second live stream will consist of storm chasers. This one will consist of maybe like Brandon and then maybe like Corey or something. But our second live stream is when we're gonna have a lot more storm chasers out there. And the storm chasers that are out there right now, I mean, most of them currently are just kind of sitting near the coastline, or just kind of evaluating stuff right now. I mean, none of them are seeing anything too crazy yet, but later today it'll ramp up really fast. So that's when we're gonna bring in our storm chasers. But we got about 10 hours until landfall. 10 hours until landfall, which is crazy to think. All right, let's see. Let's go back to that camera. So they're getting Cape Coral. I had a bench on the Cape camera. Where do you guys see a bench on this camera? Is there a bench somewhere? I can't see it, if there is one. Thank you, Linear, for the $5 super chat. You have to turn on, I'll show you on Radar Omega. You have to go to the left side of your screen. And under Cyclone Port Network, you have to turn on Cyclone Port. You should see the Storm Chaser icons. Alright, does anybody see a bench? I didn't... apparently somebody said there was a bench here. I don't see one. On the Cape Weather camera here in Cape Coral. There are some other cameras. We're gonna look at some of the other ones too. If any of them have anything interesting, we'll pull them up. This bridge is in Cape Coral. I do think we just hit high tide, for reference. Like, it was probably about, an hour ago. Somebody said it in the chat. I'm pretty sure it was about an hour ago. So high tide's been hit. So the water's going to go down here a little bit. But obviously the waves are still very high. If we go right over to the coastline, to the beach, the waves at the beach are relatively high. This is from the Muddy Duck Captivia Island in Southwest Florida. Waves are definitely high. Rough surf for sure. This is going to, again, intensify more later today. We're going to see much larger waves. But for now, waves are not super high quite yet, but they're definitely getting up there. This guy doesn't sleep. I sleep. I got 6 hours of sleep. Wasn't as much as I wanted. I wanted to sleep in until 11. And that didn't happen, unfortunately. This is the Sanibel Causeway toll road. It's pretty crazy here still. Got water coming over the wall right there on the left side of your screen. What's the significance of benches? If you were here for Hurricane Debbie landfall, you know. We had a bench that literally got, like, completely decimated by storm surge, but still, like, was there. It was interesting. This camera's shaking like crazy. It's very windy. How's that unworn cell? Check it out real quick. Looks like it's pretty disorganized now. I mean, it still has a hook. But I'm not seeing... the velocities aren't really lining up by the looks of it with that rotation. Still got a little hook on that storm, though, going towards Lodge. Eventually, Bamberg will be in the track of this. Orangeburg in South Carolina will next be in track of this. The bench probably blew away like the trampoline. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. This is another camera. This is back over in the same area near Cape Coral. Pretty windy right now. This is the camera I'm pretty sure we had on last night, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is the camera that we had on our stream last night, if you were watching our live update. So, pretty windy right now. Again, this is a, like, I don't know what they call it, but basically it's like a boat road. Like, it's supposed to be, there's water supposed to be here. I know it kind of looks weird, but... How's Tampa? Any cameras? We have cameras in Tampa, but we'll probably use them more later today. It's really just windy there right now. We don't really have any, like, storm surge there right now. So, unless we get, like, storm surge, we're probably just gonna, like... until we get storm surge, we're gonna wait on cameras there. Good news right now is that I'm not really seeing much rotation on many of these storms. Like, I'm not really seeing anything that looks, you know, tornadic right now. Like, anything that's absurd. So that's good. We do have a couple of storms just off the east coast of Florida. Back over east of Palm Bay. These are rotating a little bit, spinning a little bit. So might get a couple of water spouts, maybe a low tornado risk as they get closer to, like, Daytona Beach or something like that. And the eye right now of Hurricane Helene still well offshore. Current positioning from Tampa, it's about 205 miles to the south or west-southwest of Tampa. And it is currently, from making landfall, about 276 miles away. So, still relatively far out right now. When will it get bad in Tampa? Tampa's going to get worse throughout the afternoon. The worst probably time for Tampa will be right around 6 or 7 o'clock tonight. It's the expectation there. Hey, Robert, for the $10 super chat. Appreciate the generosity. Tired of these storms? Hey, I can't disagree with you, man. This is like the third year in a row that we've had a hurricane that's going to be major in Florida. It's crazy. 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row of major hurricanes making landfall in Florida. It's, might be the new normal, to be honest. It might just be. Thank you, North Star, for the $5 super chat. The bench was near Keaton Beach. I believe Kopic set it up there. Can you ask him? Hey, I would ask him. I don't feel like bothering him, though, about the bench. I don't feel like enough people know about this bench thing, but maybe I gotta inform Brandon, like, next time we have a hurricane. You know, get a bench in the camera shot. that'd be pretty funny. Maybe we should just go put up our own camera out there, put it, like, at the bench, just have it there year-round, be able to reference it whenever we need to. I should just go out there and put my own camera up. Thank you, Lynn, for becoming a member, and welcome to the Velocities. Bench emergency. Oh, man. Hurricane hunters are still flying through the hurricane right now. Again, picking up pressure right around 962 millibars. The latest observations in terms of pressure as low as 960 millibars. The wind speeds are up around 100 knots, which is, again, still around high-end Cat 2, near low-end Cat 3 status. Looks like the water's coming up a little bit right here. Now, water's starting to come up a little bit here on the coastline here. Just kind of stalling there. Thank you, Bet, for the super chat. Or Betty, sorry, for the super chat. The tornado risk in Raleigh will be mostly tomorrow. Should be a pretty low threat. Yeah, it'll be mostly tomorrow. Thank you, Cynthia, for the $10 donation with the donation link. I appreciate that. Found you on YouTube, and I was looking for storm chasers last night. I live in Cape Coral by Midport Bridge, close to the Waffle House. Prayers to all. I appreciate that. Hopefully you stay safe there. And, yeah, I mean, I'm not a storm chaser, but I do talk about weather. How do I become a member on YouTube? Asks Duck with the $9.99 super chat. If you want to become a member, it's the second to top link in the description. or the join button down below. I'll put the link in the chat too if you want to become a member of the channel. Thank you, Chris, for the super chat. What risk is Lake City, Florida facing? It's mostly going to be wind. So again, your main concern will be tropical storm force wind gusts, maybe up near hurricane force wind gusts. And then tornado threat will exist tonight as well. It's the main concerns. Valdesto will probably get the worst impacts around and just after midnight. How high is the storm surge going to be in Kentucky? Kentucky can't get storm surge. You're nowhere near the coastline. Nowhere near the ocean. Orlando won't be hit by this storm directly, but you are going to get some impacts, mainly tropical storm force wind gusts, and then the potential for some low-end tornado threat, essentially, will be the main concerns. But for right now, I mean, Florida's pretty quiet. Again, I think later today we're going to start to see more of these outer bands really push inland and, you know, produce the tornado threat.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
But, yeah, I think it's just going to take a little bit of time. A lot of instability out there, too. We have a new tornado warning for Georgia. This is going to be for Pierce, Appling, and Bacon counties in Georgia. So if you are in this warning just west of Patterson, seek shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible, and in an interior room of your home or building. Little baby supercell here that's developed, moving to the northwest. It's developed really fast, too. That was a quick developing storm. Going to be going in the direction of Baxley eventually, and Route 23 will be in the track of this. Thank you, Isaiah, for the $5 super chat. Tallahassee probably going to be mostly a wind concern. So wind gusts up to 110 miles per hour. Very strong possibility there. That's the biggest concern. Flooding also going to be a big concern, I think. Thank you, Liz, also for the generous $20 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for Liz. Love your channel in Maine. Appreciate you tuning in from Maine. Thank you, Kalia, also for becoming a Maximum Velocity member. And welcome to the Velocities. All the models show Cat 2 now. Let's check out the Hurricane model. Has it come in on the 12Z now? Yeah, the 12Z's coming in. This is not a weak Cat 2. This would be, I mean, if the HAFS is right, which the pressure starts a little bit lower than what it is, but it would, this in this case would be more like a middle grade Cat 3, which is what the current forecast is from the National Hurricane Center. Thank you, Fun Size, for the $5 super chat. Will Fayetteville, North Carolina get hit hard? Mostly tomorrow. Tornado threat's the main concern. Other than that, it's mostly just going to be rain and some gusty winds. Thank you, Jay, for the $5 super chat. I think anywhere near Macon, Georgia is going to be mostly a dominant wind threat. There will be some flooding potential as well. There's a high risk for flash flooding, but the biggest concern, in my opinion, is the wind threat. The other concern, obviously, being flooding. So, the storm's still trying to organize near Williams in South Carolina. Still could have a tornado threat out of that as it moves north. Thank you, Emily, also for becoming a Maximum Velocity member. Thank you, Chase, for the super chat. Thank you also, Judy, for the super chat. Appreciate you becoming a member, by the way. I don't know if I missed you, but I appreciate you becoming a member. Thank you, North Star, also for the super chat. Making chili for our hurricane party. Sheesh. Making chili. Anybody else making any fun foods or drinks today for the hurricane? Anybody making anything fun? Is there a way to post a picture in chat? You can't post pictures in chat, but you can at me on Twitter at MaxVelocityWX or message me on Discord. It's like the best way to do it. This is from CIRA, the satellite imagery over Mexico this morning. That's Hurricane John. Or I think it's Tropical Storm John, but it's about to be a hurricane. Crazy looking thing over there. That thing developed again, which is crazy. Thank you, Midwestern, for the $50 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for Midwestern. Appreciate the generosity. Go get yourself a big tub of Culver's cheese curds. I'll probably do that tomorrow for sure. I have so much stuff going on, dude. I have like an exam next week. I have so much homework I have to get done. I've done none of it this week because of this hurricane. This weekend is going to be hopefully getting 10 hours of sleep and literally just grinding out homework. It's going to be painful. Thank you to Peter for the $5 super chat. Gainesville's mostly going to be tropical storm force wind gusts. That's like the main concern there. This is what we're looking at for wind gusts tonight. So upwards of 70 to 75 mile per hour wind gusts, maybe even a bit higher than that at times for the Gainesville area. Those will be the main concerns. We now have an enhanced risk for tornadoes tomorrow in North Carolina and South Carolina. How much more school do I have? About 8 months. Hey, shown for the $5 super chat. Middle Tennessee will be mostly just rain. This is the latest. We now have an enhanced risk for tornadoes tomorrow. Back up into North Carolina and South Carolina. We'll show you the probabilities in a second. Thank you, Holistic, for the $20 super chat. I appreciate that. From Jacksonville. Appreciate that. Check out the... Oh, tornado risk has not updated properly yet on the SVC. Oh, there you go. Another 10% tornado risk for tomorrow. A little 10% tornado risk there for North Carolina and South Carolina. Bada bing, bada boom. Why is Max going Patreon only? What do you mean? What's that even mean? How's the bench? We don't have a bench cam. I don't think. Thank you, Bresser, for the $5 super chat. Cincinnati's mostly just going to get a little bit of rain, like Friday. Some wind gusts up to around 50 miles per hour, but that's really about it. Let's go back to satellite. What it looks like on satellite imagery right now, that eye is really starting to clear out. We're starting to see convection build now on the east side of the eye. This thing's wrapping up pretty quickly. I think we're going to have a pretty defined eye moving towards the Big Bend of Florida here pretty soon. Definitely starting to ramp up, though. That is for sure. Tornado on the ground near Lodge, South Carolina. Oh, this thing's wrapping up now. I don't know if it's on the ground yet. We don't really have a CC drop that's definitive, but we might have one near Ashton. The storm's been rotating for like ever. It has yet to have any tornado warning. It's going towards Branchville and Bamberg in South Carolina. Happy birthday, gaming. Appreciate the $5 super chat. Have a great birthday. See what this new scan shows. See what the velocities show. Should update in a second. Thank you, Holistic, for becoming a member, and welcome to the velocities. Thank you also, Squatch, for the $5 super chat. I got a bench that needs a new home. Awesome. Might need it for a stream someday. Friendly reminder, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. It's the red button down below. It is free to do. Again, if you subscribe to the channel, you'll get the latest update videos and live streams on Hurricane Helene as it continues to approach the coast of Florida. Also, click the bell icon down below so you're notified with our Landfall live stream later this afternoon, in case you do end up leaving. Thank you, Jones, for the $4.99. Hey, there might be. There's probably going to be some cheese curds out there somewhere. It's just bound to happen. I'm not seeing a CC drop, but we still do have rotation near Lodge in South Carolina. It's going to be moving again towards Bamberg and Branchville. What was the main concern for Orlando? Tropical storm force wind gust being the main concern. Just real quickly, we're 2 subscribers. Now 1 subscriber from 389,000, and we just hit it. Wow. Crazy stuff. Alright, velocity still haven't updated, but we'll go into that once we get a new radar update. Still have the tornado warning in Georgia. It is still radar indicated near Highway 32, moving north-northwest. Thank you, Tracy, for becoming a maximum velocity member. Appreciate that. Thank you, Nathan, for the 1 gifted. All right, before our next radar scan, I do want to remind you today's live stream is brought to you by Radar Omega. If you need a weather app to stay ahead of Hurricane Helene today,
a new tornado warning has been issued.
The top link in the description below on iOS and Android. Highly recommend you download it. It's also the pinned link in the chat. So if you need a weather app to stay ahead of the storms, you can download Radar Omega. Top link in the description below. It's the weather app that we've been using this entire stream. Has tons of live cameras and storm chasers inside the app with the base version of the app. And then if you become a subscriber, you can also get the mesovorts right along the coastline here of the Big Bend. They have gone ahead and issued a tornado warning now on that storm near Lodge in South Carolina, north of Ashton. If you are in this tornado warning, seek shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible, and in an interior room of your home or building. That's moving in the direction of Clear Pond eventually, and S557. Thank you, Nancy, for the $20 super chat. What are your goals after you graduate? Either go to TV or do this. What I enjoy. No CC drop as of right now, but we could have a tornado at any time as that moves into Lodge, South Carolina.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
New tornado warning. That is for the Earhart area and as well as Clear Pond, south of Bamberg in South Carolina. It is a CWA region, so they've issued a new tornado warning. If you're in this warning, seek shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible, interior room of your home or building. That is currently moving to the north-northwest. And we may have a tornado on the ground. We have like a little CC signature there that might be the tornado. It's not enough to fully determine it yet, but we might have a tornado there near Lodge. Going north-northwest. We'll go back to that in a second. We'll go back to the eye forming on satellite right now. The eye's really coming together again. I think this is definitely starting to intensify further. What it looks like on infrared imagery. The yeah, that convection is really wrapped around. We've been talking about this since we went live. Convection is definitely wrapping around the eye here of Hurricane Helene. No, Tucker, I have not done anything. When is it due to hit landfall? Currently expecting around 11 o'clock tonight. So about 10 hours from now, it's expected to make landfall in the Big Bend of Florida.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
All right, we have a new tornado warning. Again, another tornado warning back up here in Georgia. That is south of Dublin. Another little storm here with a little couplet just south of East Dublin, moving towards Rents. If you are in this pink polygon, seek shelter immediately, away from windows, lowest floor possible, and into an interior room of your home or building as this continues to move north. Yet again, another tornado warning in the state of Georgia. Other rotation on that southern Georgia tornado warning doesn't look as concerning. The one that might be on the ground, again, is this one in South Carolina. We'll see what the next CC radar update shows, but there is a little CC signature. I don't think it's enough to confirm this as a tornado, but we'll see what the next scan shows. Will tropical storm warnings expand into North Carolina? They might by like a couple counties, but I don't think it'll be like at the entire state by any means. It'll be a pretty small area. Still at that next radar scan. I do want to go back to Cape Coral and that live camera. It's still going crazy here. Very crazy surge. Right along the coastline. Surge does continue. That white van is not moving. I'm pretty sure that white van is doing some funny stuff. Police? I don't think it's a police car. I could be wrong, but it doesn't look like one to me. Hey, Smiley for the $5 super chat. That's fantastic. Thanks for the super chat. Alright, we do have a tornado on the ground now. That's going to be near Lodge in South Dakota. Or, South Dakota, absolutely. In South Carolina. Going in the direction of Clear Pond. Again, this is currently for Bamberg and Colton counties in South Carolina. So get into your safe place. There is now a more definitive CC drop over Highway 64, moving north-northwest. And it will be approaching, again, eventually Clear Pond. We have a tornado in progress now. Next radar scan will be coming in here in a moment. You're in this warning. Get to your safe place. We'll go back to that live cam here until that next radar scan. I know Connor's live, guys. I'm well aware. And we'll have Storm Chasers on our stream in the Landfall stream. I think all Connor's doing right now is just like setting up stuff anyways. He's like prepping for kind of scouting out spots, if you know what I mean. Looks like Connor's wearing my max velocity hat. It's pretty lit. Next National Hurricane Center updates at 2 o'clock. Bottom right of your screen, it says that, by the way. Thank you, Bernhardt, for becoming a member, and welcome to the Velocities. This camera is over in, it's the Malhatcha Bridge, I think, or something like that, near Cape Coral. It's on Cape Weather. Yeah, if you want to check out these cameras, you can check it out with the link in the description. Do appreciate them letting us use their cameras today. You should wear shorts today? I'm already wearing shorts. I haven't worn pants since, like, I don't know, February, maybe? Thank you, Sean, for the $5 super chat. Really? That's interesting. International Space Station. Latest scan still indicates that we have a tornado in progress near Earnhardt. So this is a continuing tornado, again, in South Carolina. This is on the ground. They have not updated the warning yet, but it is on the ground according to the radar presentation that we're seeing. Near Highway 64, near the Low Country Highway, is where this is currently located. That tornado is still, yeah, that's definitely on the ground. That is 100% a tornado still in progress near the Earnhardt area, going in the direction of Clear Pond, South Carolina. It has not yet been upgraded to observe, but that is definitely on the ground. We got a big CC drop on this thing. Look at that CC drop. This is definitely a tornado. I'm not sure how large it is, but we might have a bit more of a strong tornado moving towards Clear Pond, South Carolina. But this is no doubt on the ground right now. There's, like, literally no doubt. CC drop is the correlation coefficient. It indicates debris being lofted up into the atmosphere. Thank you, Mike, for the $5 super chat. Tallahassee will probably be near 100 mile per hour sustained winds later this evening. But yeah, that's debris. We might have homes or buildings or trees just being lofted up right now to the atmosphere. There you go.
This is an urgent alert. A tornado is on the ground. Seek shelter immediately.
This is officially a tornado on the ground just to the south of Clear Pond. Again, moving northbound, so it'll be going towards Clear Pond in South Carolina. You need to make sure that you are in your safe place, away from windows and on the lowest floor possible. This is in Bamberg County in South Carolina, moving north at about 25 miles per hour. We definitely still have a tornado in progress here. I'm going to bring you guys over to that other camera on here. There you go. Why is your light pink? That's when we have tornado warnings. It's actually red, though. It's supposed to be red. For some reason, it looks pink. It's definitely red on my end. For some reason, I think the camera exposure is, like, incorrect or something, because it doesn't come out correct. Alright, latest CC scan still shows that tornado near... it's going to be approaching the Bonkston Bridge Road, and then eventually going in the direction of Hughes and near Route 601. It's currently moving north-northwest. So this tornado is still in progress. Luckily, it's pretty rural areas of South Carolina, but... yeah, I have to white balance it. I know. I haven't done that. Thank you, Emily, for the super chat. Main concern is storm surge in Sarasota, Florida. And then hurricane force wind gusts near 75 miles per hour, possible later today. Thank you, Shane, for the very generous $20 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for Shane. I appreciate that. Thank you, Becky, also for the $5 super chat. Appreciate the generosity. And we still do have a tornado on the ground, moving off to the north-northwest. Thank you, Taylor, also for the super chat. Northwest Georgia, mostly going to be tropical storm force wind gusts, flooding rainfall. Those are the main two concerns. New hurricane hunters showing 955 millibars. I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, it looks like this is rapidly intensifying. Let's see. Yeah, they're down near 955 millibars now. Oops. We're down near 955 millibars. Wind is upwards of almost 110 knots. This is very close to being a Category 3 hurricane if it's not already in the Gulf of Mexico. So it is intensifying. A little bit later than what we expected, but it is intensifying. The next National Hurricane Center update's in about 50 minutes. Latest CC signature still showing some debris, but not nearly as large of a tornado near Hughes. It's currently moving north-northwest again towards Clear Pond. Let's go back to Georgia and check in on those. Got a tightening also here near Rents, Georgia. That could be on the ground at any time. Near Route 319, moving northwest, or north-northwest. And then we still have pretty tight rotation as well back over right near... it's going to be approaching Route 1 near Holmesville in Georgia. So 3 different storms that actually have pretty strong rotation right now. And then Florida, for the time being, still remains pretty quiet. We do have some storms developing in southern Florida. That might become a bit more of an issue later today for tornadoes, so I'll have to watch that closely. Yeah, this eye is really starting to close. I mean, it's definitely closed. If we go back to satellite imagery, or this is infrared, and infrared is showing that this has been pretty much all closed off. Dry air is kind of really just not a factor anymore at all. And this is the satellite. Thank you, Keith, for the $10 super chat. Appreciate the generosity. Yeah, there's a lot of convection, both on the east side and also on the north side. It's just going to continue to really intensify this thing as it continues to move north. It is currently a high-end Cat 2 hurricane. The next update is at 2 o'clock. I wouldn't be surprised if it is a Cat 3 by then. So we might have a major hurricane in our next advisory. Also have a little bit of rotation near the Swansboro area. And then not seeing really anything near Savannah right now. The main rotation on any storm is basically something that's tornado warned. Other than that, I'm not seeing anything really that crazy when it comes to rotation. Yeah, I think it'll be Cat 3 by the next update. If it's not, it's definitely going to be the highest end Cat 2 that you can have. But I think it'll be a Cat 3 by then. It does look like this tornado is occluding. So we're probably not on a tornado anymore. By the way, it is not a Cat 3. I have to change that graphic. Give me 1 second. It is not currently a Cat 3. This is my other graphic. There we go. Alright. It is a Cat 2. As of now. Thank you, Carol, for the very generous $50 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for Carol. Appreciate the generosity. Thank you also, Keith, for the super chat. I think I already said that. Thank you, Nancy, for the $5 super chat. Appreciate the generosity. Yeah, I'm afraid, but I do think that this thing is really intensifying now. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if we have at least a Cat 3 upon landfall, but I do think there's still a solid chance that this will make a run at a Cat 4. Because it is still about 10 hours from landfall. Like, there's plenty of time for this thing to intensify as it moves towards the Gulf Coast. So, I do think that there's still a pretty good chance that this does get to Cat 4 level as it moves north. Just my personal opinion. Kind of been thinking high-end Cat 3, low-end Cat 4 again for days now. Still think that's what we're going to see out of this. Obviously, last night's stream, there wasn't really anything happening, but intensification was just so delayed.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
New tornado warning for Appling County in Georgia. That is going to be a new tornado warning, I think, for this storm down here. This one's just getting a new warning because the other one expired. But that's for Baxley. So if you are in that warning, seek shelter, I think. I think that's the warning. See it pop up again in a second. There you go. So that is the warning. So Baxley, Georgia, you are now in a new tornado warning. So if you are in that warning, seek shelter, away from windows, lowest floor possible, and in an interior room of your home or building. As this will be moving north. Hurricane hunters are currently flying through the hurricane. And we still have that observed tornado warning, which I don't think this is on the ground anymore, but we'll check in and see. CC radar has not updated. Velocity is showing no rotation really anymore, so I do think this is broadened out quite a bit. If we still have a tornado, it's going to be approaching Clear Pond, South Carolina. Text is wrong. That's exciting. Let me fix that real quick. Thank you. I appreciate you pointing that out, because I actually had no clue. I forgot we had to update that stuff. One moment, please. Yeah, that scrolling text is incorrect. It'll be fixed in like 5 seconds. Yeah, this is not Hurricane Francine. It definitely isn't Francine. Alright. There we go. It is updated now. Thank you, Holly, for the $5 super chat. Bonifay, Florida. Bonifay will be mostly tropical storm force winds. Aside from that, really not much. I'm old enough to remember Francine. I think a lot of us are old enough. I don't think there's anybody here that's not old enough. Hey, BF for the $20 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for BF. Appreciate the generosity. Huge shout out to anybody that's become a member or super chatted. Really appreciate the generosity. Or Venmo'd or use the donation link. By the way, that tornado warning in Bamberg, South Carolina has been downgraded back to radar indicated. So that's no longer confirmed. Don't forget, if you are a Radar Omega subscriber, you can access these mesovorts across the coast of the Big Bend. Again, nothing happening here quite yet, but later today we are going to see a lot of stuff happen. We're going to see a lot of storm surge, lots of high winds in our Landfall live stream. So again, if you want to check these out, you can become a subscriber on the Radar Omega app. Watch these. Again, you can download it with the top link in the description below on iOS and Android. We will have these cameras on our stream later this afternoon into the evening when things really start to ramp up. We are expecting some crazy stuff tonight, so I highly recommend, again, you are subscribed to the channel and click the bell icon so you're notified when we have our Landfall live stream, which will start around 5 o'clock. And it will go all the way until whenever is needed, possibly as late as 1 a.m. It could be a long live stream tonight, so we are expecting to be here for quite some time today. And again, we are waiting for that next National Hurricane Center update, which again is at 2 o'clock. So we're about 40 minutes out from that next update from the National Hurricane Center. And we'll go ahead and see what things are looking like. If this has become a Cat 3, or if it is still just a high-end Cat 2. Back over to satellite. Thank you, B. Smith, for the super chat. Day 2, enhanced 10% tornado risk introduced. I did see that. Yeah, I showed that earlier. There is a 10% tornado risk tomorrow. I'm not sure we're going to be live tomorrow, because I do have classes again, but if for some reason I don't, or if for some reason this is a bigger threat when I'm actually able to go live, then I'll go live for a little bit. I'm going to check out the timing and see when this is supposed to happen tomorrow. It's going to start probably as early as 9 a.m. And it's going to run through like the afternoon, the early afternoon. It's going to be a pretty short... It's not going to be a long threat. It'll be like 4 or 5 hours long. So... Update on the Dublin tornado warning. We'll check back in on those warnings. The Baxley one, still nothing on the ground, but still strong rotation, at least in the mid-low levels. The one south of East Dublin and Dublin, rotation was stronger a few minutes ago. It's broadened out over the last few scans, but still strong enough to the point where we could get a tornado. That would be weather aware if you're up in Dublin. But velocities right now, still moderate, almost on the strong side of things. Thank you, Andrew, for the super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you, Jeremy, for the $10 super chat as well. Any of your content benefit you as part of your degree program? No. I wish it did, but no. Thank you, Kim, for the super chat. How we see Hurricane Hunters on Radar Omega. You go to the Tropical Weather tab, and then you click on Hurricane Hunters, and then you click on whichever one you want. So, click on and off on those. Thank you, Stephanie, for the $20 super chat. Appreciate the generosity. Stay safe. The tornado warning in South Carolina is still ongoing, and then we got 2 tornado warnings in Georgia. So we'll continue to watch them closely. All right, let's go back to that live camera in Matlacha Bridge. Storm surge continues to be a problem here back over in Cape Coral. Really high water. Once again, really pounding the coastline here. Be very interesting to see what goes down here over the next few hours. With that said, I'm going to take a quick 60-second break. I'll be back in 60 seconds. Stay tuned. And he's late. There's no way we're timing. There's no way people are timing this. Is that bridge still open? Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, it's not really being, it's not flooded over by any means. The water's just crashing along the shore here. Really pretty high waves. So. Yeah, the white SUV hasn't moved. I'm pretty sure it's there for some funny business. That's all I'm going to say. I think it's there for some funny business. Could be wrong, but unless there's somebody there, unless it's like a police officer, but I doubt it. It just doesn't look like a police car. Perfect spot for a free car wash. I don't know if you're going to be happy with the results of your car wash from saltwater, to be honest. I think that's like the last thing that you would want your car to get involved with would be salt water. Tornado warning in South Carolina goes for 5 more minutes. Rotations broadened a lot. Not expecting a new warning there at this point. The tornado warning south of Dublin was just canceled, and then we still have a tornado warning for Baxley. So we're kind of down again on tornado warnings. We're going to be back down to 1. Unless something else gets issued, maybe in Florida or something like that. So back down to a bit more of a normal amount of warnings. Very nice. So over to Brandon Kopic. Brandon Kopic again live on Radar Omega and on YouTube. I'm not sure what he's up to, but he's currently prepping for this hurricane this evening. And we're going to have several live chasers on our Landfall live stream. We're going to have to set up our other set of monitors as well. A lot of stuff that has to be done for that the second live stream. Let's go back to satellite. Or infrared first. Infrared again, still indicating we got basically all this convection wrapped around the eye, which means that this is going to continue to really intensify over the next few hours. We're really expecting this to make a run, I think, at a Cat 4 type level hurricane by the time it makes landfall tonight. The current forecast is a high-end Cat 3. I could still see this making a run at Cat 4. As we are now approximately 10 hours, just a little under 10 hours from landfall in Florida.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
All right. We have a new tornado warning. They've actually continued this tornado warning, interestingly enough. Back over in South Carolina from Bamberg. Bamberg and Orangeburg counties included in this. I'm not really seeing that much rotation, but they have gone ahead and continued this tornado warning. So if you are in the warning, seek shelter. Away from windows, lowest floor possible. Interior room of your home or building. Still moving off to the north. Still some rotation, just not much. In my opinion, not a whole lot, but could still see something. Hey, Bleach for the $20 super chat. Anywhere in Tennessee is mostly just going to be rain and some gusty winds tomorrow. I'll go over Marania, Florida, though. You're mostly going to be dealing with just hurricane force wind gusts for the most part. Other than that, there's not much of a risk there. Maybe some localized flooding. Especially with all this moisture. The biggest problem is we have all this like moisture because of this trough that's off into the upper level trough back over in the Mississippi Valley. So we just have all this rain falling before the hurricane's even here, which is why this is becoming more of a concern for flooding. It originally was not supposed to be that big of a flooding concern, but now we have this just band of moisture essentially that streams all the way up into, you know, even as far north as areas like Virginia, and it's just a mess out here. Thank you, Dan, for the $5 super chat. You're driving people nuts. It said Matt Lachey. All right. We'll see if I remember that. Appreciate the super chat. My mom would say mustache. I probably would too. Still going crazy here near Cape Coral, Florida. Thank you, Brianna, for the super chat. Main impacts there will be just, again, tropical storm to perhaps even up to hurricane force wind gusts overnight tonight to tomorrow morning. And then the potential for flooding will exist as well with all the rain that we're going to see. Friendly reminder, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. There's at least 700 of you that are not subscribed to the channel. And if you do subscribe, we could hit 390,000 subscribers in this live stream. So make sure to subscribe. I feel so bad for Connor. I think Connor's having internet issues again. I could be wrong. $400,000 subscribers before Category 4 hurricane. I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna hit 400K today, but you never know. I don't think this bridge is going to go out. I don't think it will. I mean, this is back over in Cape Coral. The storm surge that we're seeing right now, this is not the worst of it, I don't think, but this is kind of what it's going to look like tonight. It might be a little bit worse later this evening, but shouldn't be too much further worse than this. Next National Hurricane Center update is in about a half an hour. Probably a little bit under that. Again, we'll be here for that update, and then we'll probably take a break after the update, which is, again, over half an hour from now, and then we'll be back for landfall coverage, which will be starting around 5, approximately. They'll make landfall at 11 p.m. tonight. Yeah, so for landfall coverage, we'll start at 5 p.m. or so. Maybe 4:30 or something. St. Petersburg is starting to flood. Yeah, unfortunately, it's going to start flooding. I mean, we got offshore flow coming in now to Tampa Bay, and we're also going to see that in Cape Coral and whatnot. Storm surge is going to start to pick up this afternoon back over on the west coast in this area, and it will become worse, I think, by around the early evening. So, thank you, CB, for becoming a maximum velocity member, and welcome to the Velocities. Hey, Stephanie, also for the $20 super chat. Appreciate that. Tim and Stephanie, I appreciate that. Thank you, North Star, also for the $5 super chat. On Radar Omega, you can go to the left side of your screen, and then you see the Cyclone Port Network. You click that drop down, and then you can click on and off for the Cyclone ports. And then if you're a subscriber inside the app, you have the access to the Project Mesovorts, which are the cameras right along the coastline. And again, if you want to download Radar Omega, that's the app that we're currently using. You can download it with the top link in the description below on iOS and Android. It is $8.99 for the base app, and also you can become a subscriber and get access to things like the satellite imagery, computer models, and as well as those live cameras that are inside the app, the ones that are near the coastline. Storm chasers and also the cameras inland are all within the base app, or base version of the app, so you don't have to subscribe to anything for that. Still have a tornado warning for Baxley in Georgia, and we still have one just south of Orangeburg and Bamberg here in South Carolina. So again, if you are in these tornado warnings, just continue to stay in your safe place. Nothing really I'm seeing too concerning out of them. I don't see anything on the ground, but you never know. Could see something as those continue to move to the north. Do I have a backup if I lose power? I do not, no. I mean, I'm kind of assuming I'll be fine, but Worst comes to worst, we lose power. I don't know. I think I'll be fine, though. Thank you, Michael, for the $5 super chat. The only thing I expect in the next update from the National Hurricane Center would be the intensity. That would be it. Like, I think it'll be up near a Cat 3 hurricane in the next outlook. And again, that next outlook is in about 25 minutes from now. We'll check out the aircraft recon as well and see what they're looking at. They've been measuring some pretty high wind gusts, or wind speeds, I mean, upwards of 105 to almost 110 knots. And then pressure right now, they've been measuring down almost near 955 millibars. So it is intensifying here in the Gulf of Mexico. Definitely see that on the infrared imagery, too. It's become more organized. Thank you, Vaughn, for the super chat. I wouldn't be too concerned in Virginia Beach. I would say it's a very low chance for tornadoes tomorrow. Thank you also, Momo, for the super chat. No problem at all. Appreciate you tuning in. The camera at the bottom right is on the... I'm not going to pronounce it again, but it's basically near Cape Coral, Florida. Bottom right of your screen. We'll have actual chasers out there later in the, again, the Landfall stream. All right, let me see if there's any updates on Twitter here.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
All right, before we do that, new tornado warning for Florida. That is going to be for those in Calhoun and Liberty counties in Florida. We have several areas of rotation over up in here near the Weewa Hitchcock area, southwest and west of Tallahassee. These are all mostly moving to the north and northwest. But if you're in this particular tornado warning, seek shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible, and in an interior room of your home or building as that moves off to the northwest.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
And we also have a new tornado warning for Sumter, Lee, and Clarendon counties in South Carolina, with some broad circulation attempting to intensify near Interstate 95 near the Turbeville area, going towards Lynchburg, Maysville, and Elliott. So if you're in this tornado warning, seek shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible, and in an interior room of your home or building as it continues to move off to the north. Currently, the hurricane hunters have found at least pressure to decrease down to 958 millibars. So at least. It might be lower than that, though. So we do think the pressure is dropping quite a bit. We'll know for sure in about 20 minutes. Well, we're back up to 4 tornado warnings. You know, we got 1 in Florida, 1 in Georgia, and then 2 in South Carolina. Thank you, Nick, for the $4.99. Mostly going to be wind. Again, tropical storm force wind gusts around 50 to 65 miles per hour near Atlanta. And then rainfall totals probably going to be anywhere from 4 to even up to 10 inches of rain in some spots. So flooding's definitely going to be a concern. Pressure drop means it's intensifying. And we do think it is intensifying. If this isn't a Cat 3, again, it's going to be at least a high-end Cat 2 at this next update. Look at a pier camera. All right, we'll go back to it until we have another update. Thank you, Waffle, for the super chat. Max, you gonna get Max with a mullet before you have GTA 6? I just don't think so. I don't think I'm gonna get a mullet. How are we doing? Not too shabby. Not doing too shabby. I woke up at 9, went to bed at like 3 last night, so I got 6 hours of sleep. But we're doing pretty decent. Thank you, Petal, for the $9.99. How about it'll be in Douglas, Georgia? I don't know where Douglas is. We'll look it up. Wind gusts there are probably going to be higher than 30 to 45. They'll probably be up near 70 to 80. It would be my guess tonight. Be more of an overnight threat, though. Alright, let's check back in on these tornado warnings. Got a little bit of rotation developing for sure on this tornado warning in Florida. It's going to be, again, going towards the Bluntstown area. And then also back up into southeastern Georgia. We still have that tornado warning near Baxley. That rotation's been, I would say, on the stronger side for quite a while. Again, that's currently moving off to the north. We have our tornado warning south of Orangeburg near Bamberg. That one's still going for at least another 20 minutes or so, unless it gets canceled. And then we also have our tornado warning near Turbville, which there's some circulation, but nothing really tight or confined as of right now. I'd say nothing currently confirmed as a tornado or anything like that for now. The current path for Hurricane Helene is, again, supposed to go up into the Big Bend of Florida tonight. This is the cone of uncertainty, basically meaning where it's going to be making landfall tonight. It'll make landfall somewhere between Carabel and about Perry, Florida tonight. If I had to make a guess, it'll probably end up making landfall somewhere in this area. Maybe near like the Sop Choppy area or near St. Mark's or something like that. Thank you, Whiskey, for the super chat. I think it'll be mostly just hurricane force wind gusts, and that's about it. A little bit of rain as well to go with it.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
I have another tornado warning in Georgia. That might actually be for East Dublin. If it's for Lawrence County, Georgia. So it might be this. That'll be my guess. We'll wait and see in a second. Yep, alright. It is Dublin. So if you're in Dublin, Georgia, near East Dublin, seek shelter, away from windows, lowest floor possible, and in an interior room of your home or building. Again, not really tight right now, but it is strong. Very easily could produce a tornado as it moves into the town of Dublin. Again, this is currently moving north at about 25 miles per hour. Thank you to Dan for the $10 donation through the donation link. I appreciate that. Thank you also, Hannah, for the $5 super chat. Albany, Georgia is mostly going to be hurricane force winds, and the flooding potential will be a bit more elevated. Here's the latest scan on this tornado warning. See what the CC radar shows. I should get out and chase. I'd rather be live here for the live coverage. Thank you, Blood, also for the $5 super chat. Let me look where Suwannee County is. Back to that evacuation order map. You're probably going to see at least some localized flooding. I think the flooding risk will be higher just off to your west. But I could see there being at least some flooding there. It's not a really slow-moving system. It's just purely due to how much rain's already falling and how much is going to fall over the next, like, 24 hours. Hey, Lori, for the super chat. The worst side of Hurricane Helene is both on the east and north side. It's not just the north side. The highest winds that we've been measuring, at least from the hurricane hunters that have been measuring it, have mostly been either on the east or north side, kind of in this area of the eye. And that would be the eye right there. I think once we get closer to landfall, the worst of it will still be on like the north and east side, like kind of like this, when it comes to the wind speeds. And also possibly even parts of the south side will be pretty intense. The west side will also be intense, it's just not nearly as intense as the other three sides of the hurricane. Oh, look at that. We now have another area of potential tropical development in the Caribbean Sea. Fantastic. Another 20% tropical development area now in the Caribbean Sea. That is just phenomenal. I just tweeted on Twitter. Make sure you'll like my tweet, retweet it, comment on it. It's a fantastic tweet. Highly recommend you check it out. Will that become a hurricane? I have not even looked that far out, honestly. I'll look real quick and see if any models actually even pick up on anything. Might be another CAG storm. The GFS has something. This is what the GFS shows, alright? Shows it developing on Thursday. And look where it goes and how intense it gets in the southwest Gulf of Mexico. Dude, what is that? The GFS model has us stalling in the southwest Gulf for literally like a week. How is that even possible? This is over 200 hours out, so take this with a grain of salt. That's like literally forever, though. That stalls there beginning Friday, October 4th, all the way through like October 12th. Let's just hope that does not happen. This is the European AI model. Doesn't really show much development, but it does show at least some development by October like 11th. That's interesting.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
You have a new tornado warning in Appling County, Georgia. So if you're in that warning, that's going to be back over in the Baxley storm still. If you're in that tornado warning, continue to stay in your safe place. The one near East Dublin, broader rotation, but we'll continue to keep a close eye on it. Taylor, planes cannot manipulate storms. I don't know what you're talking about. Some deep conspiracy theory stuff I see way too often, and it's crazy. How about somebody brings a jet ski into the hurricane? Let's see if that does something to it. Thank you, Hannah, for the $20 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for Hannah. Holly Springs, Georgia. Mostly going to be a flooding threat, and I think we'll at least have the potential for a few inches of rain, but probably several. Some flooding will be possible. Tropical storm force wind gusts possible tomorrow as well. Hey, Delta for the super chat. Fort Walton. I think we already talked about Fort Walton. And if you have any questions about specific locations, definitely recommend you go back to the beginning of the stream. Talked all about it. But Fort Walton, more than anything, just going to be tropical storm force wind gusts. That's it. Not really much else over there. Our next National Hurricane Center update on Helene will be out in a few minutes. So we'll see if this is a Category 3 hurricane yet, or if it has intensified here in the Gulf of Mexico.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
Yeah, yet again, another tornado warning in Georgia. It's going to be for Toombs County, Georgia. We're going to find out where that is, because I'm not sure where it is on the map. Thank you, Wesley, for the super chat. Not really. I don't have any, like, on top of my head right now that I would want to explore more. All right, that new tornado warning is an extension to the Baxley tornado warning. So that's because of the CWA region. So near Falling Rocks, just south of Tomb Center. So if you're in that warning, seek shelter. Thank you, Coach Rick, for the super chat. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you, Budgets, for the $4.99. Dothan, Alabama, again, still looking at hurricane force wind potential tonight. Thank you also, CB, for the $10 super chat. I appreciate that. Thanks for tuning in from Flagler Beach, Florida. All right, I think the new advisory is out from the National Hurricane Center. Yep, the new advisory is out from the National Hurricane Center. The latest update on intensity and all that is coming out as we speak. Hasn't updated on here yet. All right, the latest advisory. This is now officially a high-end Category 2 hurricane. Maximum sustained winds have updated to 110 miles per hour. The pressure is currently sitting at 959 millibars. So the pressure has dropped a little bit. The wind speed has increased. So by 5 p.m. today, we are expecting this to be a major hurricane as a Category 5 with Category 3, not Category 5. Category 3 with maximum sustained winds, probably around 115, 120 by around 5 o'clock this afternoon. So this will likely be a major hurricane as it does go towards the Big Bend of Florida. Sorry, I did not mean to say Cat 5. I don't know where that even just came from. I don't even know where I got 5 from. I'm literally like reading off the advisory. But yeah, that's the latest update. Sorry, did not mean to say that. Trust me. That is the latest from the National Hurricane Center. This has, again, intensified, but it's not yet a Cat 3. I don't know how I got to Cat 5. I couldn't tell you. But as mentioned before, this eye has become much more defined on infrared imagery and as well as back on satellite. Again, a lot of convection wrapping around the eye right now, and that's going to continue to intensify this as it continues to lift towards the north into Florida. So again, we are expecting this to be a relatively, I would say, significant, at the bare minimum, a relatively significant tropical storm. Dude, I can't speak. Relatively significant major hurricane as this moves towards Florida. It's not going to be a tropical storm. This is definitely going to be a hurricane. But again, we are expecting this to continue to intensify as it moves to the north-northeast. It's expected to turn right back into the Big Bend of Florida and make landfall somewhere between Carabel back through Perry, Florida. So that's the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. All right. Thank you, Rick, again for the $5 super chat. It's not a Cat 6. It's not a Cat 6, guys. Thank you, Pencil, for the $5 super chat. Also, thank you, Grayson, for the super chat. Thank you also, Gina, for the super chat. Appreciate the generosity. Max went off script. I don't script things. I don't have scripts.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
All right, we have another tornado warning. We're up to 7. We have a new tornado warning now near Calhoun County, Florida. So if you're in that warning, seek shelter away from windows, lowest floor possible, and in an interior room of your home or building as these continue to move northwest. You have the potential for a tornado. And we still have several tornado warnings. We got 3 in Georgia, 2 in Florida, 2 in South Carolina. Plenty of tornadic activity right now across the board. So we got that rotation near Baxley and also near East Dublin. We might even have like a little weak tornado right now over, East Dublin right now. I wouldn't be surprised. There's definitely rotation there. We still have rotation all the way back over here as well into South Carolina. Literally, you say literally way too much. All right. Thank you, Seth, for the $5 super chat. I think Perry, Florida will be in the ballpark of 100 to 120 mile per hour wind gusts when this makes landfall. It could be a little bit higher if landfall does happen a bit further on the east side of this cone of uncertainty. Thank you also, Tyler, for the $5 super chat. How much will the high tide affect storm surge? That's going to affect it. I mean, that's when we're going to see peak storm surge, whenever high tide is. So, yeah, I mean, peak storm surge will be right when that happens. I think the storm surge forecast is going to probably remain the same. They haven't updated the storm surge forecast yet, but if I had to guess, the storm surge forecast is probably the same as before. Thank you, Mrs. for the super chat. I'll stay safe, don't worry. Thank you, John, also for the super chat. This is currently... I mean, it's gonna be a lion later. I think this storm will be a category lion later. Or cat lion. But right now, I'd say it's more of a house cat. It's definitely getting up there. How's it going, Tommy? Give me 1 second. I gotta figure out where this is. All right. Friendly reminder, if you are just tuning in, new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below, like the stream as well. And if you need a weather app to stay ahead of Hurricane Helene, you can download the Radar Omega app with the top link in the description below on iOS and Android. Again, that's the weather app that we are currently using. You get all sorts of features inside the app, and if you become a subscriber inside the app, you'll have access to those 7 Project Mesovort cameras right along the coastline that will be able to see all the storm surge and the hurricane force winds as this gets closer to land, which we'll be definitely seeing as we have a hurricane during our hurricane landfall coverage. So it should be very interesting later today for sure in that live stream. Okay. Let's do that. Let's do this. A quick refresh. Thank you, Michael, for the super chat. I'm safe. Again, I'm fine, guys. My only concern in Florida is about losing power, so that's really my concern for me.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
Wow. We have another tornado warning. This one's going to be near Dublin in Georgia. We have 8 tornado warnings. So if you're in this tornado warning near East Dublin, going towards Wilkinson, Johnson, and Lawrence County, seek shelter, away from windows, lowest floor possible, interior room of your home or building, as it continues to move to the north. Thank you, Courtney, for becoming a member, and welcome to the Velocities. Still have a tornado warning near Baxley as well. The tornado warnings in South Carolina have been canceled, so that number is going to drop down. We're back down to 6, technically, tornado warnings. And then back over in the Florida Panhandle right now, we still have tornado warnings here. Again, near 12, moving to the northwest. So if you're in those tornado warnings, again, be in your safe place. Rest of Florida, for the time being, not really seeing much tornadic activity. We do have at least, we might even have a couple large water spouts west of Tampa right now, but nothing really near the coastline. So later this afternoon and evening, we're going to probably see that threat really ramp up here in the state of Florida. Also, thank you, Courtney, for becoming a member, and welcome to the Velocities. Yeah, we are expecting quite an interesting afternoon and evening here across Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and then eventually Tennessee by tomorrow morning. So, should be very interesting. And the latest update from the National Hurricane Center is that this is up to a category, or it still is a category 2 hurricane, but it's on the higher end of a category 2 hurricane with maximum sustained winds at 110 miles per hour. So again, that's the latest forecast from the National Hurricane Center. And we are expecting that number to stay basically increasing over the next 12 hours before landfall. Again, landfall is expected to make landfall. Landfall is expected to make landfall, absolutely. Hurricane Helene is expected to make landfall at approximately 11 o'clock tonight, which is about 9 hours from now. So the plan for the rest of today is that we're going to have a landfall live stream starting at 5 o'clock. It's going to be separate from this one. That way we can go live from 5 until about 1 o'clock or so, being able to cover the majority of what the hurricane does upon landfall and before landfall. Right now, we're still in an active period. It's just a lot of tornado warnings and nothing really too crazy right now. But as we get later into the afternoon, we're going to see a lot more storm surge. We're going to have storm chasers, and it's also going to be, the winds are going to pick up a lot this afternoon. We're still near the beginning, I would say, of when the impacts are going to start to ramp up. So that's the reason why we're doing 2 live streams today. So that 5 p.m. live stream, or around 5 p.m. is when it will start. That live stream will be based for the landfall of major Hurricane Helene as it eventually becomes a major hurricane here in the Gulf of Mexico. So it should be very interesting this afternoon. We'll have over a dozen live cameras. We also have, again, over half a dozen storm chasers out in the field, like Connor Croft, Corey Gherkin, Brandon Kopic. Stormer Media is going to be out there. There's going to be a ton of storm chasers out there. So we're going to keep a very close eye and tabs on them later this afternoon. And we should have a very interesting stream for you guys later today. So that's the current plan. I gotta get food though, and I also gotta, get ready essentially for that 5 p.m. stream. So the plan is right now, we're gonna go ahead and probably taper down the stream. Stay tuned. We're gonna redirect you to my next stream, so you can click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live. Again, if you are new to the channel, subscribe down below, like the stream, click the bell icon so you're notified with our latest live streams. All right. If you are new to the channel, follow us on Twitter and Facebook at MaxVelocityWX. We'll post updates there. Thank you, Day, also for the super chat. Appreciate that. We're going to be back again at 5 o'clock or so Eastern time. It might be 30 minutes earlier or later, depending on what happens. But we'll be back probably in a few hours, or I'm going to get food, kind of, chill, get some stuff ready for our stream, and then we'll be back here in a few hours. All right. Again, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'm going to redirect you to our next stream. That's going to be our landfall stream, so you can be there. And yeah, thank you guys all for tuning in. Appreciate the support, and we'll be back in a few hours with live storm chasers and more live